Hello there, my name is Rachel, GNS Middle. Gilbert and Sullivan is my middle name and my middle name is my last name. And the three of us are here today to explore the magic of the Gilbert and Sullivan operas by very pedantically ranking every element of them. So first of all, Joanna, would you like to tell us about who you are? Just pretend you haven't already been in the video.
Yeah, sure.
And then also, can you tell us what we're ranking today?
Okay, so I'm Joanna. Rachel and I first met when we played Nikaya and Kaliba, respectively, in Utopia Limited in 2016 for Savoya. Sorry, we've lost our twin sense. And I play roles with the Bear Theatre, and I'm a big GNS head.
Who are you playing on Sunday?
I'm playing Janetta in the Gondoliers.
But of course, by the time we watch this video, it'll be like 2 Sundays
Weeks ago, I played Janetta.
And it went really well, didn't it?
And it was the best show I've ever been in.
Completely flawless.
And today we are ranking the Act 1 finales from the Gilbert and Sullivan operas. It's a big one for Bear. Good.
It's not even an Act 1 finale.
No, there is a
you. And what are you doing?
What am I doing here?
What are you?
The audacity, the mendacity, and the tenacity. Hello, my name is George Baritone. No, never mind. Hello, my name is George Baritena Priestley Jones. Because like a bisexual, I can fit into both gloves of baritone and tenor. I've been lucky enough with the gorgeous Bear Theatre to play a mixture of baritone roles and tenor roles. So I do feel that I get...
And alto roles.
Yeah,
and alto roles as well. I do feel like I've been lucky enough to have quite a broad experience, both broad and broad. I'm about to play Louise in the Gondoliers on Sunday. I have also played Lady Jane in Patience, which was some of the most fun that I've ever had on stage.
I just played this.
So,
but tell us what you are playing in the summer with Bear Theatre, which I haven't even announced yet.
And I am so delighted. You heard it here first.
I didn't even know this.
The Sun hasn't even got word of this yet. But in the summer, I will be playing Hebe in HMS Pinafore, which I'm really excited for. Yeah, good old cousin Hebe. So, cheers to William Schwenk Gilbert.
So today, as Joanna says, we are ranking the Act 1 finales. We have also included the Act 2 finale of Princess Ida in this list. So I know that pedants will say we shouldn't, but I mean, it does belong in this list. It does not belong on any other list. Yeah. But we've also included the Act 1 finale as well.
I mean, you've made your choice, but if it was me, I would have disregarded the Act 1 finale.
I almost did. I almost have treated it as 3 separate tunes, but I thought it should have a chance in the list.
Yeah.
It should have a chance. The parameters we have used are as following. We have given marks out of 20 for music, but then we also have another 10-point category for music, which is just called musical transitions. And what that means is, we have judged the music as like individual pieces of music and then kind of averaged those all together. But at the same time, we've given a further 10 points to when they can transition smoothly from one into the other and just how well it works as one piece of music. So that's what that 10 points is for. 20 for lyrics. There's 20 points for clarity / quality of narrative. How clear is a story? How engaging is the story? How meaningful is a story? Does it make sense with the characters? Like, are any bits of it stupidly slow and dragged? Does anything happen so quickly you don't notice or understand? You know, just how good is the story, basically. Then there's also 20 points for dramatic / emotional / comedic states. So for this one, but actually in this case, there is not a single one that is not both emotional and comedic in some respects. So my kind of weird, it has to have both to get 18, just doesn't apply to a single one because they all actually could get 20. They all meet the criteria. And then there's a 10 mark out of 10 for enjoyment, which gives us a total score out of 100 for each one. And so no 3 of us, not one of us, none of the 3 of us know
not one.
which
Yes,
which
one.
which operas are in this. I mean, we know what operas are in the list, but we don't know what order they're in. So basically, Joanna and I scored it. George didn't realise he was doing this video until 5 minutes ago. But Joanna and I both scored them. And then we both sent our scores to my boyfriend, who made us a selection of secret cards.
So lovely.
Which George is going to unveil and be the moderator for us. And just before we start, I have actually chosen not to include THESPIS in this list. So it is in the list, but it comes automatically 14th place. And the reasons for that being, it's so quick. There's pretty much no story. I'm sure the music was lovely, but since we don't know what the music is, we can't judge the music. And anything that is left to be judged, I find is noticeably worse and in every respect than all of the other operas. I don't think they'd really got it right yet at all. You know, there are bits of it that are fine and it functions fine, but there's no stakes, no tension. It's just very subpar compared to the others. But, you know, it was fine when we did it, but it was definitely not my favourite part of the show. I'd actually completely forgotten, like, literally all of it. I knew it contained the Paradox song, but that's just a Henty Baker. Sorry about that.
We've had wine.
Not me, I'm
Oh, right, okay.
This is a little bit like
excuse.
a composite sketch of a criminal, isn't it? You know, it gives you a rough idea.
Yeah.
But is
So
it
we've
good
not
enough?
actually. THESPIS gets number 14, but now we're going to move on to the main ones.
Is it
right?
time?
It's time. And I don't know how they're arranged in the things, so you might have to be kind of careful
Yes. Okay.
opening
all right,
it. So,
then. Well,
Joanna, let's look away
Yes.
just in case we see anything we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Just in case it like starts with
absolutely
number
beautiful.
1 or something.
Here we go. Right.
Hopefully, it won't start with number 1.
The unveiling. Oh, I feel like
This is so exciting!
I feel like in Neth at the end of the Gondoliers.
Oh my god!
Okay.
Is that number 13?
Yes, it is number 13. So, first of all,
Oh my goodness, stop.
can I have your thoughts on what you think it's going to be?
Oh, do we have to?
I mean, I can tell you which my 13th was.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, sure. But will that spoil it if it doesn't?
The thing is,
come 13?
I think that
Yeah.
you should say what it is first, and then
Yeah,
we'll say
very
what it
valid.
was our 13th.
Will react.
Very valid. The Pirates of Penzance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I
okay.
expected.
Yeah, indeed.
That's what yeah.
So, Rachel scored it 52 points out of 100. And Joanna scored it amazingly 53
Wow.
points out
Oh
of
my
100.
goodness.
You
So
were
far.
absolutely in sync with that one. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This was one where when I played it first, I thought, oh yeah, that's a decent 15 for music. But then as I played each of the others, it's the opposite of what happened with RUDDIGORE actually.
Yeah.
As I played all of the others, the score just got lower and lower
Yeah.
because it is decidedly just not as good as any of the others musically. And actually, I actually put it a whole 2 points. I gave it an 11, and the next one I gave a 13.
Yeah.
So I considered the one above it to be that much better than it musically.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say there's not good moments in it, but I mean, what do you think about it musically?
Yeah, I mean, I think the high point musically is Hail Poetry. I
Of
think
course,
I
yeah.
partly only think that because it's such a popular number, but it is a real iconic
legitimately
moment.
good.
And
isn't it?
Mabel's is it a top C when she comes in at the end?
Yeah,
Doctor,
that's nice.
That's
However, all the
spine
Act 1
tingling.
finales, if you listen to them back to back, they all have this great climax,
Yeah.
typically at the end of the last thing. Typically they go into an unexpected key
Which is
at
very
some point
Verdian,
as
isn't
well
it?
at the end. Yeah. So, yes, it's a nice moment, but pretty much every single other Act 1 finale has an equivalent moment in
Yeah,
it
yeah,
where
yeah.
probably the soprano floats over the top on quite a high note. And it's a really nice one, this, but I don't think it
Yeah, it
scores
isn't. Yeah,
much
I
higher
think
than the others.
because one thing I told Joanna today is to also think of like our favourite moment of it, and so we've mentioned both of our favourites. So I
Yeah.
guess yours is Hail Poetry. Mine is Mabel's top. Is it an A or a C?
I think it's a C.
It's a C because there's one and a later one which we're probably not going to talk about for a while. Fingers crossed. Where the soprano has that, but it's just like so much more epic because of the way it is, and probably you know which one I'm talking about. But like, there's just a bit.
I think maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just one where she comes and it's really dramatic, and we'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I feel like the
Oh, we've got a soprano wailing over the top, ladies and gentlemen. This is that climactic moment.
Oh, please don't do that to me because I'm so allergic.
Can you meow a top C sharp?
No, I know you weren't asking me, but I was just trying to get her to do it.
Is that actually a C sharp?
This is
No, I
butt
don't
in my
think so.
face. Butterface. Buttercup.
Kitty, you've got yourself into a problem there.
Good.
So,
Let's
No,
carry
not
on.
me. I'm not an
Yeah.
option, Kitty. I'm sorry.
So, I find it just a bit woolly in pretty much every
Yeah.
category, especially narratively. Like,
Mhm.
I do not think that it is
I think that was a pretty good narrative moment.
I do not think
Kitty
girl. I do not think that it is narratively strong
Mhm.
at all. And the thing is, I don't mind the fact that the stakes seem to be quite low for the Major General, even though his daughters have been kidnapped. I find that very topsy-turvy and funny, that, oh, you mustn't do that, you know.
Yeah.
And that is silly, and I'm absolutely 100% here for that. But the trouble is, it does mean that when we get to the Act 1 finale, there's just no tension there
Oh, yeah.
at all.
Do you know my big problem with the narrative of this?
Yeah.
Most Act 1 finales, and I thought it was relatively few of them, but then I went through it again yesterday and I found that most Act 1 finales end on somewhat of a cliffhanger. You want to go back after the interval to find out what happens.
yeah.
This one,
It does,
they
you're
go,
right.
oh no, we're being kidnapped. Oh, but I'm an orphan, so you can't kidnap my daughters. Oh, okay. And of course, we find out over the course of the finale, relatively early on in the finale, that he's lying about it, but it's not enough for us to go, oh, what's going to happen about the Major General
I
having
know.
lied to the pirates?
Yeah.
Because as far as we're concerned, how are they going to find out?
Yeah.
And they're just not going to marry them, but Frederick's going to marry Mabel happily ever after the end. You could not come back after Act 2, frankly.
You know,
like, you wouldn't, if you know the show, you wouldn't want to, but
It's a bit like Into the Woods, isn't it? Like, it feels
exactly.
complete.
Oh,
It feels
yeah.
complete.
Yes.
do you know what my worst part of it is?
Oh, go on.
You may go for your liberty. Because no one, well, I'm sure there are people on this earth who sing that very well, but it never sounds good, even when it is sung well. It's just so low
It is.
and so cloying with what's happened before.
It doesn't
Yeah,
come
it's not a nice transition.
immediately
is it?
after Hail Poetry. as
Exactly.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I immediately I give it a 4 for
Buzzkill,
transitions.
man.
I'm like, it's not.
So I gave it a 5, yeah, so similar. Because, like, they transition relatively smoothly between things, and I think there's one that does worse transitions than this, as in more stop-start. So these are quite nicely linked together, but they're not nice transitions to listen to. Exactly, like, you may go, it's not...
And the
it's
thing is, like, this
kind of
one,
ugly and clumsy.
this 13th place, it came so below 12th place that even if I'd given it a 10 for enjoyment, it still wouldn't have been close to the other one.
And that's interesting
Right.
because you both scored it above half marks. Just. So still, whether it's enjoyable or not enjoyable, it falls on the side of enjoyable.
But how do you feel about
I
pirates?
do completely agree with everything that you have said. I always forget about that tiny little bit of dialogue between the Pirate King and the Major General immediately after I am the very model of a modern Major General.
Tiny little bit.
I love that bit of dialogue. Are you kidding me? That's
I
like,
always forget about it.
oh, the orphan,
forgets
the
about
orphan,
it.
orphan.
Yeah, he's talking about the orphan.
The orphan gag. Yeah, you know, shoot me, pistols at dawn. But I find myself completely agreeing with everything that you guys are saying. However, one of the best, I feel that one of the best transitions is dum, da da dum dum, da da dum, da da dum.
Oh, you see, I don't like that.
Okay.
It's fine, but I find it. But that actual bit of tune is fine. It's more the grinding pause before it begins.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you must leave him. Whatever they go.
Yeah.
I wish you'd leave him. Did a little. It's that I hate
Also-
Ruth leaving and that goes to the
Yeah.
next thing. I hate
Also,
it.
there's not
not
much
great.
need
So bad.
for it to pause so much because isn't it in the same key as what we've just finished in? Oh, we to
Yeah.
leave me. Da 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 da. It could have gone quite smoothly in.
Yeah.
It doesn't change key in the transition. Transitions, I think, are largely for changing key, and when he does it super smoothly, that's what makes them so impressive. But like that, I'm like, why is it that? But anyway, I respect your opinion.
And what's what's weird about it, as somebody who plays Mabel a lot, she does basically nothing in this.
Yeah, she's not.
And like, I'm not saying that makes it bad, but it's just all Frederick really. And it's just bizarre how like two of the main people who have been bigged up to be a major part of the story do not feature at all in it, and there's no tension between them, and it's just so flabby. It's just
even worse than that. Another really central character to the plot, Ruth, appears, and not only does she not do anything. She embarrasses herself.
It's so shoehorned in. It's really shoehorned in.
I also think that just the whole first section of this finale, I don't really dislike it, but I don't like it because the whole the orphan boy, when's it going to end? The orphan boy, how many times are we going to sing these words? And then like. It's not even that they repeat it over particularly more beautiful music. I think maybe I have bad memories of this because a lot of amateur and some professional male choruses will butcher this because there's so many stop-start bits. They don't follow the conductor, and they get their harmonies wrong, and it's kind of
you lose the pace.
It's kind of you wouldn't think it would be so difficult to sing, but it is fairly difficult, and so it just falls really flat, I think. And the orchestration is very bare, just dum 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 under the orphan boy. Yeah. It's really
I call that swing chomp chomp chomps. Chomp 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 chomp.
You see, I love Pirates, but this really isn't their strongest moment of it at all.
Exactly, and the Act 1 finale should be a real climax. It should be a real high point, and for lots of shows it is fantastic when some of the rest of the show is a dud, but like this is the opposite.
Yeah, this lets the show down.
Yeah.
So a valid 13th place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're moving on to 12th place.
12th
place.
HMS Pinafore.
Again, that was my 12.
Interesting. It was my 11th, so
okay.
Fair.
Right.
We have
I think you're going to be really surprised by my 12th, but we'll see. Maybe not.
Rachel scored this 67 points, which, as you said, is
a
quite a difference.
Yeah,
that's 14
big
more points than you gave Pirates. And then Joanna gave it 60 points.
Yeah, so I gave it a lot less than you, but it came
Interesting.
slightly higher up my list. So I think there's one that on balance is slightly worse than this. And I say it's slightly worse. This... Oh, no, yeah. There's one that's 1 point worse than this for me. So it's really, really close.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for enjoyment, I gave this a 4. I gave Pirates a 5. This is my worst for enjoyment.
I can't remember what I gave for enjoyment.
I'm not a Pinafore fan. I think certain parts of this are a high point of the show for me. So, to say I gave it a 4 for enjoyment might tell you what I think to some of the rest of Pinafore. But I think it's got lovely moments. I really love This Very Night. That section of music is really stunning, I think, and that's probably what pulled it up from 12th to 11th place for me. But also, I think, what else did better? I'm just trying to check my scores. I gave it 3 for transitions.
Oh, yeah, the transitions are terrible.
Just a series of pieces of music shoved together with gaps in between.
I'll tell you which bit of music I am obsessed with is the his eyes should flash, his presence, his eyes, yes!
Yes.
I love that. And I'm always trying to get people to
syncopation.
like when I directed it, I was trying to get people to like make that like the most powerful thing they've ever sung, you know?
Yeah, it's great.
And just like that bit I love. And I really like they give the chase for the sailor's way because I like the tra la 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 la. I think that's really pretty. And I do think that this one, I think if we were ranking it in terms of like genuine dramaticness,
I'm sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you.
If we were ranking in terms of like genuine dramaticness and emotion, I actually almost gave this. I think I ended up giving it a 15 for like dramatic / emotion.
I ranked it highly for that. I think that's
I had it higher initially, but then because the other ones just have like higher musical stakes, it ended up coming down a bit. But
Rafe
oh
is
my
about to kill
god,
himself
it is absolutely spine tingling and. and also I think it's the narrative arc of it is really beautiful, because I like how it starts off with something tremendously sad, and then there's that tension there. Oh God, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And then Josephine comes in, no, I love you. But then another conflict. So it's all happy, but then another conflict is introduced in the form of Dick Deadeye, and then but then there's that awful back, you shall go.
Awful.
And that's so bad. But like, I do love the fact that he's there, and I love the bit that he sings underneath "Oh Joy, Oh Rapture." Oh, yeah. I love that.
So I've never heard that sung very well, so I'm a bit like...
We see, I had a
bit. Do you know what I mean?
I had Matt Keller as Dick Deadeye.
Oh, fair. Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, can I just talk about that transition that you just talked about for a second? So maybe we had a bit of a chat about this when we were doing our scores, just so that I could get on the same page with you. Maybe we count for Ben or carry out the scheme you've planned as the transition, right? The sung transition. And then at the end of that, there's a bit of a transition as well, sung by the chorus. The thing is, it doesn't serve to change the key really at all. He sort of seems to go through a few keys. And then it finishes back, which is kind of an unrelated key, other than the melody starts on the same note as the chorus just finished singing their melody, but it's not really a related key. And so I'm like, well, why did you bother with this whole transition that's not even very good when you didn't even get to the key you meant to get to? I don't love it. And also I think just the rest of the music, other than Rafe's slow, lovely bit and this very night, I think it comes across really basic to me. But it's a very clear narrative. I don't buy the conflict of Dick Deadeye being a significant conflict. I see that it's
more just like a foreshadowing for the audience rather than, but as you say, for them it's not a genuine obstacle. And that's a really good point, actually.
And essentially all it is they go, oh, we love each other now, and he goes, the captain's not going to like this. And they go, oh, well, let's get married tonight. And he goes, the captain's not going to like this. And they go, oh, well, we're still in love. You know, it's like, oh.
But actually, one interesting thing about it is that once Josephine stopped Rafe from killing himself and confessed her love, they never tell the audience how they're feeling again. And they're kind of just stuck together a bit awkwardly.
Well, yeah, also Hebe does as well when they're
That's so weird, isn't it?
They're like, we're so happy, and she's like, they're so happy. Well, it makes a pretty trio.
But Hebe's happy because she won't be marrying Joseph
that's
Potter
true.
Anymore.
True. I never thought of her sort of ulterior motives.
There you go.
So many layers for you to think about.
I'm digging my teeth into this.
But this was one that I was a little bit like Will. I was once like Will until I directed HMS Pinafore for myself. Because honestly, I hadn't done HMS Pinafore since 2007. That was the last time I'd done it until I directed it in 2021. So that's 14 years. And honestly, I thought it wasn't good. But then when I watched it again, listened to it again, and tried to refamiliarize myself with it, I think I was really struck by how the emotions of it I was struck by the emotions of it. That's the sentence I'm trying to say. But it was, and I think I've said this on other videos, but it felt for me like quite queer coded as well. Like certainly not intentionally on Gilbert's part, but just the fact that it's two people who society say shouldn't be in love, being in love, and people supporting them, and when you kind of watch it through like queer eyes, it's like, the affirmation of their love. It's like, it's a really powerful story. And if you think about it in like modern terms, i.e. like, say, people today who society may frown on being together, and when it's like not exactly when it's not about class, etc., when it's about something we can really identify with as like modern people today, it suddenly just hits a whole lot harder.
There's a lot of mileage there, I think.
And so for that, I mean, HMS Pinafore is one of my favourite just clean stories of the canon. I love HMS Pinafore. But the music's not the best. The finale, I like it better than Pirates, like quite a bit better than Pirates. But it's still not my favourite.
For HMS Pinafore, where it falls within the canon, it's very interesting because Sullivan is still very much in his referencing phase. The Rafes and the choruses I'm Going to Kill Myself section is pretty much lifted from Brahms's Requiem.
Is
Oh,
it?
Joy, a Rapture, Unforeseen.
Oh my God, I didn't even know any of this.
Yeah.
I barely know any classical music.
And Joy, a Rapture, Unforeseen is pretty much a Schubert trio.
Right.
So
my
Sullivan
God.
is still very much at this stage of his career pinging off these references
Yeah.
that the contemporary audience would have understood, which is why I don't think he's been his most original and inventive. And again, I think I agree with everything that you guys
Yeah,
say.
and maybe why it feels like several different bits of music shoved together into a finale that don't really link together much.
You know what?
Yeah.
He was still like testing it out, which is funny because I do think he kind of hit it more with the Sorcerer, but like Sorcerer aside, like he was still working out how best to do these operas.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Do other okay? So you guys can answer this for me. Do other kind of more conventional operas have Act 1 finales that are like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Specifically the HMS Pinafore one or the Gilbert and Sullivan
Which is the
canon?
Gilbert and Sullivan canon.
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm
so
working
they
on
do-
the Elixir of Love
okay.
at the moment, and
Yeah.
it's an Act 1 finale that's kind of made up of a fast section and then a very long slow section consisting of a couple of sort of mini arias and then a chorus, an ensemble
Yeah.
section, and then a fast, very fast.
And it'll end
Happy
with like a big
party
high stakes
section at the
dramatic
end.
moment, or maybe not. Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you know that the trio in Act 2 of Patience, dum da dum da dum da dum ba dum ba dum, is a pastiche of Belcore's entrance music from L'Elysée d'Amour.
Yes.
Yeah. When someone pointed that out to me for the first time, I was like, whoa, yeah.
That's so cool. I should listen to more opera.
Yes. Nice.
Our boy makes reference.
Come to Lomber if you want.
I will.
It's one that it's quite expensive.
Maybe I'll sneak in. I'll dig my way in.
Sure.
Get your tickets now for L'Elysée d'Amour at Loughborough Festival Opera.
We are moving on to number 11. Okay, so this will be one where I have no idea what this is at all.
I don't know. I think
Because you're slightly out of kilter now, actually. Your position 11, no, your position 12.
Yeah.
We've yet to discover. Princess Ida Act 1.
No.
What was that a surprise to you? Did you put this
Go
really
on,
high?
Carry on.
Well, Rachel scored at 72 points and it came in 10th place.
Yeah.
Joanna scored at 65 points and it came in 9th place.
Yeah. So what? This is 11 page. Okay, it's not that different. I think it's great. I think there's stuff that's far more bad than this.
I mean, musically, it is obviously glorious.
It's stunning musically. Yeah. But also, I think it's very witty.
Oh,
I
it's
think-
so witty. I love it.
And some of the poetry is beautiful. And so it's not the most impactful thing. But also in my head, before I ranked these, I went, oh, Ida Act 1, chuck that out as like 12th or 13th place. But it's so beautiful.
Yes.
It's really lovely. I love Most Politely. It's so funny, as you discussed in a previous video.
I love that.
And just kind of simple harmony, but just so beautiful in its simplicity and like in the way Ida often is. And then the middle section musically is glorious. I think it utterly falls flat as an Act 3 finale. I think it's totally a bad choice for that. But I appreciate that maybe that's more the tone of Ida, and so maybe it's an appropriate finale. But here, it's lovely. I think some of the lyrics that they sing are a bit problematic in it.
If you speak to her nicely, maybe she'll give in.
But then, exactly. But then, oh my goodness, the end of this finale. It's so great.
It's a
such
chorus
banger.
patter. It's a chorus patter
Yeah,
song.
it's such a banger. I don't, it came kind of low for me. Probably there's less stuff in it. Maybe that's why it came quite low, but I'm really surprised that it came as low, because it means you marked it lower than it.
But not much. I gave it, 10th place. You gave it 9th place.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love the music of this one. The trouble is that the music isn't terribly well connected. It just it reads to me like three separate pieces of music one after the other.
The fanfare after the second piece and before the third piece is a little bit, and then we get another little bit of violins before the.
But I mean, seriously, I gave it. I mean, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you've seen this. You'll probably have seen it. But the Patter video, the Patter characters video, where I just lost it on the line. This seems unnecessary.
Yeah.
I am just like, That is one of the lines I am absolutely obsessed with. Because, as I said in previous videos, Princess Ida was the very first GNS show I ever did. And I was an alto chorus. I was completely new to it. It was the first musical I did. I never did any musicals before. And honestly, when we learn Oh Dainty Triolet, Oh Fragrant Violet, we learnt that really early on in rehearsals. And I was like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever sung in my life. I was like,
it's lovely, isn't it?
And oh Dainty Triolet, Oh Fragrant Violet, Oh little violet, oh sigh.
Yeah.
The alto part is so satisfying to sing.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adored that. And yeah, and I enjoyed it, but the thing is, just because it's 3 separate lovely pieces of music, it is just a bit narratively flimsy.
Yeah.
It's not clear where the stakes are. I mean, there are stakes for Gama, but they're not like serious stakes.
And you don't really care about him either.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's so, even though I love it musically, I don't think it really works as a finale as well.
I think
as
I reacted too much when I heard this.
I know.
I was like, this came really high for me, and then I looked and I was like, oh, it's 9. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's lovely. I think I agree. Also, it's not that dramatic. It's not that emotional.
Yeah.
Like, you don't care that much. But gosh, Sullivan tries to get you to care, doesn't he?
What was your experience of Gama in?
Gama doesn't have much to do in the Act 1 finale, and that probably has something to do with the fact that I can barely remember it and the bit that I remember is perhaps if you address the lady most politely.
Sure.
And then when you mentioned Dainty Triolet, I was like, oh yeah, that's in that bit, isn't it? So I have to admit that I can't weigh in with too much opinion here, but I feel that this placing is valid.
Yeah. Oh, gotta mention possibly my musical high point, which is but what are the words? But till that day you'll. What is it?
But till that time there will not end That is
just the way the bass and tenor lines work together, and it utterly sounds like one voice part singing it all, but they're sharing it. It's genius. It's so military as well, in keeping with the section, but it's so clever.
And I am completely against capital punishment, apart from the crime of putting a pause on the word will. The penalty your lives will pay.
Oh.
Anyone who tries to put a pause there, please don't.
She's coming for you.
The penalty your lives will pay. It's just, needs to go straight.
It's a double punch.
Yeah, double punch. But I really do like this. It's just, I almost didn't include it because it seemed to me just like 3 separate songs, and because of that weakness, I do think it came low down in the rankings. And as you say, it's that bit of it that seems unnecessarily severe. That was enough for me to give it a 14 for that category.
So I think
because that was so funny that I gave it a 14. But then I couldn't rank it that high for anything else, and the transitions weren't terribly good. I think I gave it a 17 for music, so I did rank it really high.
One very funny moment does not a whole finale make.
Exactly.
So I only gave it a 10 for dramatic, emotional, comedic, whatever, because
I'm going to check my scores because actually 14 does seem
I
really
was
high.
I guess I was fairly wide ranging with those, and I just was like, it's funny a little bit, but also I was like, well, the lyrics are decent enough that I give credit to the lyrics because the lyrics are witty, but there's not much laughter involved in watching it.
I gave it a 14
or emotion. So
I gave it a 13 for quality of narrative.
Yeah, I
16 for lyrics
for
actually,
that.
because I do think the lyrics are really pretty, and I think it's got some gorgeous poetry. 6 for enjoyment. I do enjoy it, but when I'm thinking of the ones I've given 10 to, it's a 6.
Yeah.
I did it very fairly. So that's probably
fair.
all I have to say about that one.
10 is The Sorcerer.
Okay, yes. So we have now done my bottom 4. This was actually my 11th place.
Yeah, you gave it 68 points. Joanna, this is the biggest disparity we've had. You ranked it 7th place.
Wow.
And gave it 71 points with a total of 139 points.
Yeah.
Only beating Princess Ida Act 1.
So we've not yet done your 12th.
No.
You blooming must love it.
What's
Wow.
that?
I love the Sorcerer Act 1 finale. I think it's a little masterpiece. Mostly,
It's gorgeous.
mostly musically, I will say. The music is amazing. I think the music is perfect. This little picnic music, it's so lovely. It's so perfect. It's gorgeous 4-part harmony, really beautifully written 4-part
Cece,
harmony.
they drink.
Oh, that as well. But yeah, even the start, we did a really nice thing when I was in the chorus of this with John Savonin directing, and he did a nice thing
such a
where
good
he
one.
brought out a quartet from the chorus to sing the first couple of phrases, and then another quartet from the chorus to sing the second ones.
Oh,
I was lucky enough to be in the second
Oh,
quartet.
that's lovely.
And so it really brought out the beauty of those really tight, lovely harmonies that the chorus have together. That when they sing as a group, you still hear them beautifully, but it really brought them out really nicely. So I liked that. But yeah, I think it's great. And then just the music, I think, gets better and better all the way through. And I know there's only really 3 major sections.
Marvelous Illusion, Terrible Surprise
Oh,
is
my goodness.
utterly
It is.
epic.
It's stunning.
Brilliant.
And oh, Love True Love. I mean, if you'd remembered to rank it in your duets video.
No, I did. No, this is the interesting thing. Okay, but now we can talk about it. So basically, what had happened
So gorgeous.
was I did rank it, and it came middle of the pack, and I was copying pasting into a different document, and I somehow just because it was a middle, I did half, and then I missed it when I did the second half.
Rachel
So I think
fair enough.
So I think it came like 26th or 27th or something out of. So it would have been 48.
Yeah.
But it came middle of the pack. But I do.
So
But it was one of these.
Her middle name is her last name, so.
But it did. I know. But it did come. But the thing is, it did beat pretty much every other purely emotional duet.
Yes,
It beat Words of Love. It beat None Shall Part Us.
Yeah.
It beat all of those. The only one it didn't beat was If a Week Enough to Tarry, but that's not really emotional.
Yeah.
But it was definitely the top emotional duet
Yeah.
of the canon, and I think it is absolutely beautiful.
The harmony
I love
is
it.
so simple and so gorgeous, and like just the high woodwind as well at the end. So great, and I mean, I know the music stops before starting "Oh Marvelous Illusion," but the transition once it does start is gorgeous.
I think
because
I
it's
give
a
it a
very
really high mark
clever
for
way of
transitions.
changing key.
Yeah.
I think.
And I gave it. I gave it an 8 for transitions.
I only gave it a 6, but I think maybe that's because it felt a bit stop-start.
I only gave it a 15 for music.
I gave it a 17.
I'm wondering.
It's literally
Because
my
I remember
third or fourth favourite
Interesting.
musically.
But here's the thing, because I do remember originally giving it a 17.
Yeah.
And I think probably it just had to come down
Yeah.
because of other ones that I just
Yeah.
felt were more sophisticated.
Yeah.
So I think that's the trouble. But I really, really do love The Sorcerer. It's just that it came very middle of the pack for me.
Yeah.
And its dramatic, emotional, comedic stakes, I think, were for me what let
I
it
totally
down.
agree. That was what let it down for me.
Because I
I
only
think
gave that
the
an 11.
narrative is very
Yeah.
clear. You know, you
Yeah.
don't. It's not.
I gave it a
it's not
15 for that. I
complicated,
think
but
it's
it's
good.
very clear. But yeah,
It's
the-
clear, but Love
it's
True
not
Love is a bit woolly in the
hugely
middle.
dramatic, emotional, not very funny either.
Yeah.
Is it funny at all? I don't know.
Now I have 2 things to say to that.
Okay,
Jam, fun.
you think that's funny?
That's true, actually.
It's hilarious.
No, it's sweet.
Jam,
it's
fun.
nice.
No, the strawberry jam.
Yeah. It's nicely. It's nice.
But
And,
yeah.
but
It's not the hot. It's
lovely
not hilarious,
music.
is it?
yeah, exactly. But also, I think so. The way I scored my music, which I think you did mentally, but I did very methodically, was I scored each composite section of each finale out of 20, and then averaged them out to a number that normally had loads of decimal points in it, and then I put those numbers in order and gave them 20.
yeah.
No, 19, because 20 was too clearly 20, 18, 17, 17, 16. There were a few ties, but that's how I did it. So this ended up 17, which means it did really, really well musically,
Yeah.
but probably did so well because there were only 3 sections. There were no like dud
Mm.
sections bringing it down at all. And some of the longer finales, they can't help but have a couple of sections where the music is simpler or less fantastic. The music is brilliant in all 3 of the sections. I think
Would
the
you
lowest I gave it
say-
was 15 for the first section, and then 17 and then 18, I think. So it's really, really great. So I think that worked to its advantage with my
Would-
rankings. But also, I love it. I have such a soft spot for this finale.
But like, would you say that the fact that it only has those 3 sections that actually makes it a little bit more like conventional opera? Because it does sound like the Sorcerer does sound very like one of the most operatic to me in terms of plot and structure.
Yeah, I know.
It seems very operatic.
Quite possibly, maybe. Yeah, it depends what opera you're listening to, but similar, I think, to these early Italian bel canto operas like Donizetti and etc.
But it does seem like they were concentrating on making it a beautiful musical piece rather than thinking about kind of dramatic tension.
Too much
there's like a bit of tension, and obviously the villagers fall asleep. Like that's all that happens. Whereas this because if you think about some of the ones we haven't talked about yet, and the sheer number of turning points there are within it, and like sheer number of amazing things that are happening, amazing plot progression. Sorcerer is just the villagers come in to eat from a banquet, and their tea is not poison whatsoever. Their tea is like drugged with a love potion, and they drink it and fall asleep. That is what happens.
It's pretty clear, but not that sophisticated.
Because even Pinafore, which is like super clear,
a mere babe
cannot
a
mere babe could understand. Even Pinafore couldn't be described in such simple terms. And
absolutely.
so just because it lacks. It suffers from like trial by jury syndrome. Even though trial by jury is gorgeous and wonderful and perfect, it's never going to do like extremely well in these lists, apart from in the last one I filmed. It's never going to do that well. But what was I going to say?
Does it have its own sort of standalone?
Oh
charm?
no! It's just sorry. No, you're right. I just remembered what I was going to say. But like, just in the same way that Trial by Jury would never do that well, it's just that's just what it seems like with this. With certain elements of the Sorcerer, including the Act 1 finale, they're just a bit shallow. Whereas, and remember that I'm not judging Gilbert relative to like gritty dramas today. I'm judging Gilbert compared to himself. And this is what people have to remember when they say, "Oh, but it's not meant to be about that." Well, no, because he did do that in other operas, and it was really, really good. So, and I think he's best when he does do that. So this is, but he is lacking here. There's a certain amount of GNS magic lacking in this one, but I do love it. I mean, I love all of these.
Ironically, because it's maybe the only one with actual magic involved in the plot.
So true.
There you go.
Yeah.
9.
Right, what is this going to be?
Oh my god,
we have RUDDIGORE with Rachel ranking in 9th place.
Oh yes, so this is my 9th place.
With 76 points. Joanna ranking at 8th place.
Oh, look at Dan's illustration.
67, and yes, a shout out to Dan's wonderful illustration with the portrait.
Oh, and also on the Sorcerer, he did a guinea pig.
Oh, cute.
Dan is slowly being indoctrinated into Gilbert.
Yeah, 66 points. A total of 142.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that isn't a big surprise to me because it was my 9th place.
Yeah, it's middle of the road for me. Yeah.
Tell us about what you were talking about before with RUDDIGORE.
What was I talking about before?
The hats.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was in this production of RUDDIGORE, and I mean, this made the finale. I mean, Rachel, you put it best when you first watched this production and talked about it afterwards. What was it you said?
About no, I thought it was you that had said that.
No, I think you
about
said
those lovely beaded hats that the ladies.
We wore. I was in the chorus, and we wore these white beaded hats to come on for the wedding.
They actually did look lovely. It was just
it
was
the
only for that
1920s.
one moment.
I
dread to think how much they cost just for that one moment. That's the sort of thing that director tends.
And the thing is, and when I say the following, I do fully admit that I am coming from a place of partly jealousy, but I get so angry when I feel like an inordinate amount of money has been spent on a show.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you could have spent half the money and done something pretty much exactly the same, and then given me the other half of the money to do something that was even better.
Also, this,
but it's just to me, it's obscene the amount of money that gets spent on these shows. When if I had half that money, like just think what I could do, and it's just like. So I am speaking from a place of jealousy, but I think I was joking about how like the ladies had these really intricate hats that they only wore for this one bit
also,
of the show.
It looks
it's like
horrible
how much
on us
money
as individuals. They looked lovely as a group, but as individuals, we absolutely hated them. They were horrendous.
Jingle, jingle, jingle.
It's
jingle.
like in a show the previous year that maybe I won't name because then people will like know which director I'm talking about, by the same director who put us in these horrendous costumes for some of it, which looked, I'm sure, lovely and very effective as a group. But individually, we just all looked like ugly women. And
no, I've definitely been in shows like that before where I
It's
put
just
on
a
my
bit
costume
sad.
and thought, oh god.
yeah, you just go, oh, you don't care about how we actually feel about how we look, do you? Do you know what I mean? You just care about the visual effect.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
but
I
I mean,
always
that
care.
really doesn't matter.
I really want everyone in my shows to feel sexy.
Yeah.
Like that's important to me.
What's really
It's important.
interesting,
and that's why we keep on coming back.
and I don't think male chorus members experience the same situation. I really don't.
Yeah.
You know, I think that problem is uniquely female,
Sure.
not in regards to men are from Mars, women are from Venus,
Yeah.
anything like that. I think. Well, I don't know where it comes from, but I have to say, personally, speaking with various other male chorus members, having been a male chorus member, that's an alien sort of feeling,
Mhm.
really. So
Yeah.
I think there's
I
some
think a
interesting
lot of
politics there.
A lot of it, I think, actually comes from women that is insecurity. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that when I perform with a lot of older ladies, and one very common thing I hear all the time is that they want their arms covered.
Oh yeah.
And to me, like, I can understand feeling insecure, but to me that's an illogical fear, because when you wear baggy clothes, it's always less flattering. And actually, hello dinners.
I'm
And-
only pulling that face because I'm allergic. I really like cats.
And I feel that in an effort to kind of hide insecurities, a lot of women end up wearing very baggy,
Much
unflattering costumes.
yeah.
And I find that very sad, because I'm always like, just look at my Gondoliers costumes. I'm going to include a picture right here and talk over it. But it's look, and like my kind of primary,
That's so
well, my
pretty.
primary thought was just like, I want people to feel hot and sexy, because how on earth else can you be like flirty and like
Confident, yeah.
confident? And I want people to feel really pretty and confident
Yeah.
on stage, and men as well. I want everyone to feel really good on stage. But hey, how about those men's Ruddigore costumes, like the popper like bucks and blades? Oh,
Yeah.
they are. I don't know if you saw my chorus video, but to me, the Ruddigore bucks and blades have the sexiest costumes of the canon. The Regency, Mr. Darcy
Yeah.
costumes, they are so good. Anyway, you should talk about the finale.
We should talk about it, shouldn't we?
Smiling
Musically.
summer beams. That entrance, you were talking about that. How to say about how you wanted to get married.
Before I met my lovely now husband, and we actually had a song together picked that I walked down the aisle to. I wanted previously to walk down the aisle at my wedding to the opening of the Ruddigore Act 1 finale, and for the bridesmaids to come down before, when it's just the women and then just the men singing, and then for me to make my entrance and a da 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 da, smiling summer beams upon her, epic and beautiful and emotional. It's so beautifully written for Rose as well. And,
Oh my God.
and it's lovely, and then the madrigal afterwards is so beautiful.
I
Musically.
love the madrigal.
And then, to be honest, I think the music takes a bit of a downturn for the rest of it, but it's fine. It's nicely written, the rest of it. I don't love any
See,
of the others.
I
don't
gave
think, but-
this a 17 for music.
Yeah.
Purely, to be honest, I think I do agree with you, but I think I was so flabbergasted and surprised with how much I'd forgotten I loved that opening section of the madrigal, that I just gave it a 17 without really thinking, well, when I'm about to go tata da diddles, that's not that strong, is it, to be honest?
No,
like, it's fine.
This is it.
I
think
could have
it's
forgotten about
nice
that.
and sweet.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's
But
not
I-
his best patter writing.
Oh,
so-
actually, but you know what gives me proper goosebumps? What Robin's final verse. Oh, who's signing the deed, and it's that repeated phrase.
I see what you
To
mean.
me, like I love that's so helpless
Which
and desperate,
then,
and I love that so
After
much.
Robin goes through that moment of emotional turmoil, the same tune or the same rhythmic idea then becomes this country dance.
I know, it's
Yeah.
so sinister.
Yeah.
And if I may, having played Robin, in terms of the dramatic stakes, it doesn't get higher. Robin
Sure.
goes through the ringer from pure joy, about to
Yeah.
marry the woman that he has set his eyes on, that he casts his heart on.
Yeah.
And then the thing that he fears the most in the world happens to
it's
him.
true. It catches up with him.
And I for the character of Robin, also I believe for the character of Rose, I think it is hugely
Having
after
tumultuous.
this,
Rose, I
really
can
do.
speak to this. But no, actually, what I love most about this finale for Rose, because she is kind of the shallower side of the characters in the Act 1 finale. She goes through a journey, but it's, you know, for comedy, it's, you're the only one that's left, so I'll marry you. You know, she doesn't seem like really cut, but when she does sing her solo passages in the Act 1 finale, so first, you know, the start of the madrigal that she sings as a solo, but then also farewell, thou hast my, you know, so
And her final
gorgeous.
farewell.
Yeah.
Take me high and never.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's so emotional, and it's some of my favourite bits of that role to sing. I also really love that bit that you talked about with Marisa that I think you maybe don't love so much, where in Act 2, you know, in bygone days I had that, but I really love how that sits on my voice. I think these slower bits of Rose just sit really comfortably in my voice, and I really enjoy singing them.
I think that the
And
trouble
that
is, like,
moves
that...
the music up a bit for me, though I think I gave it 13 for music, because
No,
that's where it came in the
I did.
rankings,
If you look at the description of that Soprano Hours video, I actually did admit that our parameters were flawed.
Sure.
And I actually did put it up a few places.
Yeah.
But I think the trouble is that song is just tainted by the fact, tainted in my head by the fact that Rose just doesn't do anything after that in Act 2, and it makes me feel irritated that that's her only bit, and it's just not enough of a resolution for me.
Sure. But I don't think the lyrics are great. I was going to say about this whole finale, they're a bit like
I gave it a low mark for lyrics.
And I think also, frankly strange, though I'm sure it's in keeping with this Victorian melodrama that they're sending up, but really odd that it turns out Robin's like literally been lying his whole life, and instead then Zora goes, "Who's the wretch who's betrayed you?" And then Rita's like, "It was me," and they all go, "Die, traitor!" Well, you're just exposing a liar who's lied his whole life.
It is hilarious.
And then he just goes, "Well, I was just following my heart," and they go, "Oh, fair enough."
But I actually quite like that. I find that quite funny.
It's very strange for me. Like narratively explored.
But you're right. It's like,
better things.
but like you get comedy at the cost of narrative.
Yes,
that's the thing.
I think that's true.
Yeah. But I need to just tell you all quickly about one of the funniest things that ever happened to me. It was in a dress rehearsal, and it wasn't even happened to me. I just witnessed it. But this was in, so we're doing Ruddigore with Savoynet this summer, but the last time Savoynet did Ruddigore was in 2006. I was playing Zora, and there was this amazing lady called Sian playing Rose, and she then appeared in the West End, and I don't know what she's doing now, but she's amazing, she's so good. So she was like the most professional person, like most well put together, like really lovely, like totally on it, knew all her words, perfect, and like really lovely lady. And then we got to the dress rehearsal, and she sang farewell. I can't even do it. Thou hadst my heart, 'twas quickly won, but now we fart. and then she realised and went farewell, and then she was laughing and couldn't get through it. And I was thinking like and it was so funny. It was one of the funniest things. I've like remembered that right. But I absolutely love this finale. As I say that Robin's kind of character arc in it is it's like really spine tingling, but it just hasn't quite cracked that like true perfection mark, because even though I gave it quite a high enjoyment score, I really do love every section of it, and I like the twists and turns, but as you're saying, the stakes just don't seem very real, and the narrative seems a bit odd. The way everything happens very quick,
isn't it? Because of what they're sending up, because it's a sort of a Victorian melodrama, like it just doesn't quite land dramatically the way some other finales land. And I think that will. I mean, next time I direct Ruddigore, which will be soon, because it's coming round again. Like it'll come round. You know,
2015.
You've only got a few more.
Yeah, I've only got to do Utopia and Ida
after
this summer. So there we go. Then I'll do Ruddigore again. But I am so excited about how I'm going to direct Ruddigore now after like all of my experiences of directing, because I've got so many thoughts about Ruddigore now. I'm bursting at the seams, and actually Sorcerer as well. Those are the two I'm like bursting to do again, like and the Mikado. Oh, I want to do all.
Literally bursting.
Please, just like I mean, remember, you know, the overarching message of this video is not which is the best Gilbert and Sullivan operas. Hire me, hire me to perform or direct GNS for you, please, please. I'm really good.
She's passionate.
I'm good.
And really good. She is really good.
Actually, I'm going to give it a 6 for enjoyment. It didn't quite. I think I do just feel that whole taratiddle section, this section you're talking about, all the flipping back and forth. Yeah, that's weird. I don't understand
words
that.
of the taradiddle.
When I'm a bad Bart, I will tell taradiddles.
Well, yeah, no, it's the bit before that sets it up. You know, when pure and blameless peasant.
I regret, deny a truth unpleasant. I am that barrel.
So when he's a normal person, he can't deny it because he's a good person who doesn't lie. However, when completely, what is it? When completely...
When he's a bad Bart.
Rated.
Yeah, bad baronet am I, that I am what he stated, I'll recklessly deny. So when I'm a bad Bart, I'm going to lie, and we're going to set up a whole aria based on that flimsy premise.
I've actually never even thought about that, and you've explained it to me, but that is not comprehensible to a
no,
I'm sorry, it's just not.
No, it's weird. It's flimsy.
And
yeah.
And then the thing is, what makes me kind of not believe Rose as a character is the fact she just flits between people.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I find
that's what they're sending up. Like, that there's these women that are just like, well, this is the best man and I'm the lead, so I'm just gonna go for this one now that one's fallen. And
I mean, I'm not bashing Rose. I just find it's not believable. You know, it's just. It's very cloying the way she just goes from person to person, and you are the only one that's left. Well, that's not true because there's loads of chorusmen standing right behind you who are all respected people. Yeah. Who are like, who's saying you have to get married today? Just don't get married.
Yes. But also, what if whoever you're picking? Well, it happens with Despard, of course. But like, who's to say you get the choice?
Yeah, exactly. It's all a bit odd. But yeah, I gave Ruddigore, I gave it 7 for transitions. I gave it 17 for lyrics. I actually quite like the lyrics in it, apart from the taradiddles bit. But I think I was more thinking of the poetry of the last section. Happy that anyone can miss by the bee. I really like that, and I love the madrigal. I actually love the lyrics in the madrigal.
Interesting, yeah.
And the juxtaposition of the season.
So
really
maybe
useful.
some of the lyrics that maybe 17 was a bit of a high mark. But the thing is, even if I docked it 3 points, it still wouldn't have changed its position.
No.
But it's I actually did think the lyrics were fine. Then I gave it a 15 for its quality of narrative and a 14 for its dramatic emotion. So it didn't do badly. It's just not, it's not like superb in any category. Yeah. And that's why it came relatively low for me.
I keep thinking, how highly have you ranked my number 12 to make it still not come
I really hope we find out.
Oh my god.
I thought we disagree on it, Rach.
Number 8.
8 is Utopia Limited. Rachel.
That's your number 12?
This was Joanna's number 12.
Why and how and what?
What does it mean? What does it mean? Give us a
What does it mean? What does it mean? What is he going to do?
Well, Rachel gave it 84 points and scored it in 6th.
I love this.
Place.
Of course you do.
As we know, this is Joanna's 12th place, and she gave it 59 points, a total of 143.
So it's only 1 point behind my joint 2, which were in joint 10th place.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not done horribly. I will also say I kept being surprised that it was so low. I kept checking and rechecking the marks. I couldn't change them.
Well, let me know your scores.
Okay. So I gave it a 13 for music, which puts it on par with Ruddigore. Remember how I ranked them though? So it just means there's maybe 7 above it musically. which I think is absolutely valid. I gave it a 5 for transitions because it keeps stopping, and you can't argue that it keeps stopping.
No, I didn't rank it that highly for transitions either. I think I only gave it a 7.
I gave it a 13 for lyrics. I gave it a 13 for clarity and quality of narrative, a 10 for dramatic, emotional and comedic stakes, and a 5 for enjoyment. Here's my problem with Utopia. I don't care about this part of the story of Utopia really in the slightest. I don't really care who the Flowers of Progress are in that much detail. And and like it's, I think just for me, Utopia has some lovely music. I also I think the music's really good, but I think there's much better music, especially when you average it all out in lots of other finales. And I think that it doesn't stand head and shoulders above that many of the rest of them musically. But also then, just the big flaw of Utopia for me is this whole premise of it. This whole, this whole thing that we spend 5 minutes over 3 verses of Mr. Goldberry singing about in the Act 1 finale, which is, here's how a limited company works. And it's just like one of the worst things anyone's ever written an opera about. Sorry, you thought I was going to say it's one of the worst songs. That's not true. But I think it's just a stupid premise for an opera. Rachel has just performed this. I have not just performed this. But also, I've listened to it a lot in checking and rechecking my scores against the other finales, which I've also listened to a lot, and that's where I stand on it.
Well,
okay.
I mean, the whole Mr. Goldberry song about explaining what a limited company is. I mean, how to succeed in business without really trying. Did it the same thing, but much better.
Sure. Yeah. Tell us about it, Ray.
So, first of all, I was you like a year ago, maybe slightly less than a year ago.
She is enlightened.
And basically, my opinion changed when Will played me a small bit of it and said to me that this, just listen to this bit of music. And this bit of music is, without a doubt, my favourite musical moment in the entirety of the
You're going to talk
Gilbert
about the
and
waltz,
Sullivan.
because I blooming love the waltz.
I'm actually not. But that is also good. And that's also
that is
Will's
really good.
favourite page of the
so
piece.
lovely.
He loves that.
Henceforward our vanity with fame our self-building will go down to posterity, our softness all the pink.
Yeah.
We'll go up to posterity if I think the blow. We'll go down to posterity, we think we ought to know. We'll go up, blown up with dynamite. We'll go up, of course we will. You're right, up, 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 up.
Oh, that! Okay.
I mean, that, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me that is not the best minute of Gilbert and Sullivan.
That is not the best
a
minute of Gilbert.
very-
It's great, but he does that or equivalent in lots of other Act 1 finales.
It's
To me,
patter
that
and male
is a matter
voices.
of opinion as to which one you prefer out
Yeah.
of them.
Okay, that's
It's
fair enough.
patter with romantic
It's like
lyricism
30,
laid over
it's
the top.
lovely.
30?
Yeah, because do you know what? It's got some dud moments in it, and that's how I ranked the music.
But
I
what
took
were
it
the
all
dance
as a-
moments? Oh, the what do you mean?
Well, actually, I think they're really funny.
Because I think
but,
those are great. Because as I was saying,
I probably
yes,
gave it a
it's-
couple of extra
But
marks
as I
for
was
lyrics,
saying,
just
like
because of that.
in like a different video, it is easy to do that really badly. But if you imagine those size of Scaffio and fences really rigid with good lighting and very crisp, they could actually be very.
No,
very
I think
good.
they're nice.
Yeah.
I think I'm Captain Corker and Casey.
I love
It's a little bit boring for me.
But the thing is, that bit has to be
That's
boring.
action, but he's
Because he's
saying.
saying who he is, and it's like, oh yeah, that's the guy from HMS Pinafore.
Yeah,
We
I
love
get
a
the
reference.
joke, Rach, but do you know what? I don't really like HMS Pinafore either.
And
Now, if you reference Sorcerer, it would be a different
Exactly, I'd be
situation.
like 20 for music.
The thing is, if you really think about this through the reason when I was learning this for when I was doing it, I started off thinking, oh yeah, I really love this musically, but I didn't think it was very dramatically or comedically interesting or emotional. And on the surface, it's not. But the thing is, once you, I got very, very deep in the Utopia rabbit hole. I was like properly just like lying down listening to this, like every single time I'm going to work I'd listen to this Act 1 finale over and over, and I never ever got bored of it. There was something really intoxicating about watching this culture get infiltrated, and they do it completely willingly. They let these people in, and to me, like, it got to the stage where whenever the king said, well, at first sight, it strikes us as dishonest.
Yeah.
But if it's good enough for virtuous England, the first commercial country in the world, it's good enough for us.
Yeah.
And I actually got to the stage where I was close to tears whenever I heard that bit, because the thing is, this is actually like, even though it might seem frivolous, like, this is actually like one of the most real and powerful and daring operas that Gilbert and Sullivan have done, and this is the big climax. So but the thing is, I agree with you that none of the characters, apart from Scaffio and Fentis, are really emotionally invested in what's going on.
Right.
But as an audience member, you're like, no, like, stop them. It's spine tingling and frightening.
But unfortunately, for me, Gilbert stops you from going, no, stop them, by talking so boringly about limited companies for half an hour. I can't get on board with it. Sorry.
Okay.
And I will say, I think there's some beautiful music in this. However, the waltz, including Zara's tune that she sings in the Viennese waltz section of this, I think that's no more beautiful than Pretty Lisa, Fair and Tasty.
Oh, really?
I think that is a stunning piece
I
of
also
music.
love that.
And I think it's as good, if not better. So I think all of what you're describing is lots. Let's be honest. All of this is a matter of opinion. I'm about to say, all of what you're describing is a matter of opinion. Well, yeah. But, like, I think technically Sullivan does this in other places, in other operas, just as well, or almost as well in some cases, or just as well in other places. And so I think it's really great. And I kept looking again at my scores, but I think they're right. So.
But lyrically, I mean, the big standout for me lyrically, I mean, there are loads of great lyrical moments in it, and I think that lyrically the company song is actually really good. But
I think it's clever.
But like the lyrically that really stands out for me is when she introduces Sir Bailey Bar. Like, that I find, like, again, like, spine-tinglingly good lyrically. Of all the arts and faculties that are embodiment, he's an excellent logician who can demonstrate with ease that 2 and 2 are 3 or 5 or anything you please. I absolutely love that. That yes is but another and a neater form of no.
Yeah.
So I gave it, I think, like a 17 for lyrics because I love it. But I also marked it relatively low for, like, dramatic emotion comedy, because even though what I'm saying stands up, I do appreciate that it's the audience feeling that and not the characters. So I get that. Yeah. And I think I gave it a 7 for enjoyment, because even though I personally love it, I am aware that I do just seem to have, like, a weird kind of connection to Utopia Limited right at this moment. I think the reason I have this connection to Utopia and Prince Ida is because I've not yet directed them, so I'm kind of like brimming over with ideas. So that might be where my biases come in these lists, like Utopia and Ida, because those are the ones I've yet to direct. Yeah. So, like, I think that those ones, I do just have all these kind of ideas. But then actually that's starting to happen again for the Mikado and the Sorcerer as well. I'm starting to get all these
And of course,
burning
we
ideas.
first came together through Utopia. I'm really fond of it in places, but also as a
that was boring.
I'm going to have performer's bias, because when you play the twins, the Act 1 finale is a very boring time.
That's the thing, because that's the reason I didn't like this. Because I remember having this conversation with Will like a year ago. I was saying, well, I mean, obviously the Utopia Act 1 finale isn't any good, and Will's like, what, are you kidding? It's really good. And because my memory of that is standing next to you downstage right and just singing all the chorus bits and doing nothing, and that's my memory of the Act 1 finale of Utopia Limited. So of course I didn't think I liked it.
No, what I love in reading the libretto, you get these weird stage directions that no one ever does anymore, and at the end it says so and so dance, Scaffio, Fantis and Tarara stand in the corner plotting, Micaiah and Kaliba, what does it say, eyes bandaged, dance demurely in the corner. As in presumably blindfolded, so that they don't see everyone else like being wild or something. But like absolutely.
There's so much like business with Lady Sophie and stuff. Like she does her dance of something. I'll put it in
at the end of the Pirates finale. It's like the pirates indulge in a wild dance or something.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Well,
do you know this?
Some of the time it's like they go up on the rocks. Picture is what it says.
But like, do you know?
I've listened to it,
Yeah.
and my biggest takeaway from it was absolutely nothing because I can barely remember any of it, other than some very, very fast patter and certain moments where you hear them, you're like, oh, that's so Sullivan. So yes,
classic Sullivan.
But I find it musically. Do you know what I gave it for music?
Not 20.
Yeah.
But you gave 3 things of 20, I think.
Yeah, but transitions.
So, I don't mind.
It's okay. The thing is, I buy that it's not that there's not great connections between them. I did go only a 6 for transitions.
Yeah, sure.
So like I gave it a 20 for its the actual content of its music because to me, I don't think there was a single musical moment in it that I didn't absolutely love. It's more just that the interjections do grind it to a halt, as you say, and like that's what I noticed. It's really good to disagree about stuff because the thing is, then people watching will identify with either you or me, or maybe neither of us.
Then presumably my number 10 must be coming up sometime as well.
Oh yeah, so which one is this one?
Good question.
Number 7,
Yeah.
IOLANTHE.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Rachel gave it 86 points.
Yeah.
And it was her 5th
It was my
place.
5th place.
So we've had your 6th followed by your 5th.
Wow.
And then
You
Joanna.
don't like her? I never
No, I
would have
don't
thought that.
like it. I love it. But
Yeah, that's
The
that's
scores,
interesting.
the scores don't lie because Joanna gave it 60 points and it was your 10th place with a total of 146.
So I will say, I love it so much that it tied in 10th place.
With...
And I put it above whatever it tied with, which I
Sorcerer.
can't remember now.
No,
No.
sorry, no, that was your 7th place. Apologies. Oh, HMS Pinafore.
Yeah,
I
tied
will
with
say-
Pinafore and I put it above Pinafore because I love it way more.
I will
Pinafore.
say that I gave it a 15 for music, and I was surprised with how low that was. Because
yeah.
I always think to myself, oh, the IOLANTHE finale is like everyone's favourite. That's like gonna be really high.
Same.
And
Yeah.
I was surprised that I didn't. That
Yeah.
there were a definite 4 I wanted to be above it,
Right, yeah.
and there was one other that actually ended up being below it. But I actually found there are several moments where it grinds to a halt. I only gave it 7 transitions, and actually there are no kind of real spine-tingling moments in it. Like, I guess we will away we go sky high.
Yeah,
That's
it's
kind
nice.
of pretty cool, but there's no big spine-tingly,
actually disagree
goosebumpy
with that.
moments. Oh, really? What would you say?
Go away, madam.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
that's the
good.
climax for me. That's the
Yeah.
musical climax for me. But
the
I think
crescendo
there's
at the
real
end of that.
musical duds. I think
When the Lord Chancellor enters and Tallulah and Mantara
yes,
are explaining
tell him about it,
the...
but also in Babyhood upon
Oh
that
god, that's
ballet.
slow. I don't enjoy that
Yeah.
bit.
I think Phyllis's aria after that is much better and more emotional and much prettier musically. Though I think it is only pretty musically. It's nothing that stands out. I actually in the end gave this a 12 for music. Bearing in mind my musical scoring system, and a 7 for transitions because I think they're nice when they work, but sometimes they just don't quite work. And for clarity and quality of narrative, I gave a 10 because it.
Oh, okay, I gave that quite a high mark.
Okay,
I
interesting.
gave it an 18.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I mean, the only thing I don't, because I actually love the narrative of that, but it's more just like the kind of emotional arc that I like in it. But which I do think that's kind of part of the story. I just like I like the way that it. I like just how the story is. But the only thing I find confusing is I still don't really quite understand why or how Strephon became in charge. And that is a bit the Queen puts
I
in
agree.
there. I get it, but I get what's meant to have happened. But I
Yeah.
find that because it kind of happens like off screen, and then it happens at a time when like, oh, that's convenient that he just called them and they came along, but like that could have happened at any time. It's just, I just
Strephon
find it a
never
bit
asks for
confusing.
it. Strephon never says that he wants it. The Queen
that's
just
true.
decides it's the best way to get revenge on these men who have
But
slighted
I do,
her.
but
Well,
I do
no,
appreciate
but she says that she's going to put him into Parliament before she even meets the peers.
Yeah.
In a previous
Oh,
scene,
okay,
ages
in
before.
the first scene.
But,
Okay, apologies.
But but also, you're right, it doesn't really work. He never really says he wants it. In fact, at the end of that scene, he says, "Oh, I wouldn't be any use there. I'm a Tory and also a Liberal."
Yeah,
And
sorry, yes,
he goes, "No, I wouldn't be any use there." And she goes, "Do you know what? You're going into Parliament." Half an hour later. But yeah, it's a bit strange. I find it a bit stilted. I think it's an odd quirk of a story, and I think it's just sort of why is that the resolution? I get that it's because the male chorus appears and like it's the peer and the peer and that is the clash between them, but how then you're right, how is he in charge and why? And
I mean, I do, that to me is the one weakness of it narratively, because I actually think that the way it kind of moves through twists and turns and shall I like to see my fortunes fade, no ho ho, and then it's like, oh wow, what's gonna happen, and then the fairies will come on, it's like, yeah, we're seeing the fairies again, and I feel like it's a really fun, like amping up and you know what, I feel like I maybe did mark it a bit too high for quality of narrative, because I was more thinking of the kind of, I love all the twists and turns and all the surprises more than the actual quality of the story. So I guess actually I myself didn't really mark that very accurately, but still I think I want, this is the right place for it, because otherwise it would go below Utopia Limited, and that's not right. So I just love all the tension, the character development that happens in it. I think there's also like character development as part of narrative as well, and I love to see like the Queen attempt to stand her ground, the Lord Chancellor tell her no madam, go away, and then to see the fairies like give her that confidence to fight back again, and then she like is really powerful in that bit with the peers, and then the big climax, and that's such a groove. I just love. So it's not. It is musically, but I also think that the music just so accurately reflects what everyone's feeling, and the characters are developing, and everyone has like a turning point. The Lord Chancellor does, Phyllis does, Strephon does, all the fairies do, all the peers do. They are all changed by the end of that finale, and this is why I think so many people love it, because it's just so interesting for everyone. So whereas like Mabel and Frederick, they are literally the same people at the start and the end of that, but every single person on stage in IOLANTHE Act 1 finale is changed.
I have to say, in terms of the comedy of the Act 1 finale for IOLANTHE, it's a bit of it's two sides of one coin. On the one hand, you get some of the funniest jokes. For example, I heard the Minx remark, she'll meet him after dark inside St James's Park and give him one. Just absolutely brilliant. And then on the other hand, you get she'll prick that annual blister marriage with it's like some of the jokes are just shining brilliant, and some of them are big fat turns.
It's exactly like the Mikado song, the More Humane Mikado. There is some like, his teeth shall be instructed by terrified amateurs. Hilarious. But then there's also like society sinners and stuff. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's so that's another example of one that's just full of amazingness, but also just has a few duds in it, and that's a bit like this as well.
So I think IOLANTHE is epic, and I
give it a 20 for lyrics. I forgot to say that. I give it a 20 for lyrics, but I've forgotten about that bit. But I think that the lyrics are I love the way it just like flows. Maybe I marked it too high.
I think maybe I marked it too harshly. Like I do, because I love it, and what can I give it for enjoyment? Like we balance each other out in both being wrong about it in different ways. But for enjoyment, I gave it an 8. You know, I really
me too. I think I gave it an 8 too.
I think for me narratively, it kind of grinds to a halt at the end, and I know it builds to a climax musically, but also for a long time it's
tremble
no, not so much. For a long time it's just Strephon's going into Parliament. How's that going to happen? Well, he's going to go into Parliament. He's going to do these rules, and first it's into Parliament you shall go, and then it's here's how you're going to go into Parliament, and then at the end it's when Strephon's going to go into Parliament. We're not going to.
It is really long. It's so long. It's the longest one, isn't it?
I think that's great, and that's why partly why
Oh, do you think
Is
Grand
it
Duke's
Grand
longer?
Grand Duke's 19 minutes, I think.
Is it?
I
Okay.
thought IOLANTHE was like
Uncut.
20.
I thought, yeah.
Did you do
IOLANTHE
in
is
Grand
long.
Duke? Did you do the "Oh, sister loves the true indeed that many and I used to"? Everyone's doing that now, and I love it. Apart from the Grand Duke that we are doing. Can't believe why we're not doing it. I cut that for some deranged reason. I'm not quite sure why I cut that, but I at least included what is on the recording. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Because that's
It's
not
not
right.
come up yet.
But probably also, again, it being long might have slightly drawn its average music score down from me. Because
That is
some
true,
of it,
actually.
We
Yeah.
can cut in babyhood.
some of it you could, some of it you could happily get rid of and
Yeah.
just leave the epic bits.
But I think it is definitely
lovely,
clear that both of us absolutely adore it, but it's just not. It's not really quite as sophisticated as some of the
Tick
others.
all of
really.
the boxes.
Yeah.
But I
mean,
am nuts for it, and I do love it.
Great for
I'll
Phyllis.
do it
as well.
again in a second.
And
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even spoken about "To You, I Give You."
Oh my god!
The Witch!
You're
So good.
Is
The
it like
richest and
Gentle-
rankiest
is
of your...
it like
Oh,
Gentlemen
richest
Prefer
and
Blondes?
Hilarious.
Do you remember that? Is it Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, or like the reference we got from like
where,
the gentleman
where I got
picking
carried.
you up
Yeah.
and carrying you?
Yeah, that was lovely.
That was
Weighing
so
us
much
up.
fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was great. Memories.
Yeah. But that was good.
Okay.
Number
so,
6.
number
Here we go.
six.
So we're
Getting into
really at
big
the
boys
business
now.
end now.
Yeah, because the thing is, we've not talked about one that was still in the bottom half of my list.
Yeah.
But I'm not disappointed it's done well.
Yeah. Now, so can I tell you the top 6 are now my top 6?
Oh,
We
okay.
got rid of my duds.
Wow.
I'm
okay.
gonna have a look because we've
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, wow.
So we've still not discussed my number 8.
Okay.
But
Okay.
apart from that, so that probably will be this one.
Okay.
So let's see what
And
it
do you
is.
know, I feel the fact that you guys have... Sorry, no, that was a great transition. We could do that again if you like.
No, don't worry.
You cut straight to it. Okay.
It's even better.
Patience.
Oh, she's
Oh
surprised.
no, sorry, I've forgotten about that. Patience.
How can you forget about patience?
It's
No,
George's
sorry,
favourite.
because like the patience is actually my number 7.
Yeah.
So that
yeah.
So, but I've forgotten this. But we still haven't just talked about my number 8.
Yeah, I think I know what that's going to be.
Yeah.
So, Rachel, this is, as she said, it's her number 7. She gave it 81 points. Joanna,
What's this about?
it's your number 6 with 77 points.
Yeah.
And I would just like to give a shout out to Dan's illustrations. He's
I'm not
illustrated,
sure what the
I believe
basket-
that's
what is the
Bunthorne, but it could be Grosvenor.
Well, what is the...
And then there's a basket.
What is the basket?
It's-
Dan?
Does Patience carry a basket round?
Maybe.
No,
Not
the
really.
milk
She
churns.
carries milk.
Yeah, with a yoke.
I wonder what.
She's got a pair of jugs.
I'm still asking what it is. Hold on. Tell me what it is.
And now a word from our illustrator. Have you done Patience? Like the role? I know
Yeah,
you
yeah,
did
at
that,
uni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so,
It was
that
my
the
first
hipster
Lead
Patience?
sock roll that I did at uni. No, that was the Patience that they did after the Patience when I was Patience, which was fantastic.
Apparently-
Nell, who played Patience in that, was way better than I ever was as Patience. She is brilliant.
It is a
Leave
basket.
this in, Rachel.
Because apparently Patience carries a basket, even though Dan has only seen one production of Patience, and that
Oh,
Patience never
sweet.
once carried a basket. So I don't know,
She is
but
blithe and she is gay.
yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so
Oh.
I thought Patience was
Banger.
going to do much better on my list than it did. I actually thought that Patience had like top 4 written like
Yeah.
material for me, but then it was one of these ones that just kept getting lower and lower, and I think that I ended up giving it a 16 for music. I thought it was just a notch better than IOLANTHE.
Sure, yeah.
So I got 16 for music and 7 for transitions. I thought they were pretty good.
I agree.
I gave it an 18 for lyrics. I do think the lyrics are really good, really clever.
Yeah.
If all the lyrics in Dialogue and Patience are just superb.
Yeah.
17 for clarity and quality of narrative. I think all the emotional beats are hit really well. 16 for dramatic, emotional, comedic stakes. That, the top C sharp we were talking about at the end.
Yeah.
That, I mean, that,
sure, so
the
that's an
epic
A,
end.
and then she goes to C sharp and...
But it's the A that
Good.
that kind
Whatever
of
that
like
top note was we just said.
it's the A that just gets me.
Yeah.
To-
Which
Okay.
actually is way harder than the C sharp because
I
you come at it
love
from
it.
nothing and
I-
nowhere.
and then
It
seven,
needs
seven
to
for
wait.
enjoyment. 7 for
Brilliant.
enjoyment.
Now
But
that
like,
you've
so it
mentioned
did really well in my list.
Yeah,
It's
it
just that
did.
the others
Yeah.
are better, you know.
Yeah.
But I love it.
I'm sorry, Joanna, before you go on. Now
Yeah.
that it's been mentioned once, I have to weigh in, and this is all I will say about the Patience finale, is that moment of that Verdian epic that is the end. Oh, Liz while they love
Oh.
is, and that moment where the Duke and Patience are both on an A that just floats. It's an inverted pedal. It's my favourite moment of GMS.
How did you
in the
feel?
whole canon.
How did you feel as
Yeah,
Lady
it's my
Jane
favourite.
with like the flower? Oh no, it wasn't flower petals. It was receipts, wasn't it?
It was receipts, and
But like the
Oh.
end of that, I remember that got such an applause when you were left on the stage. And
Yeah.
But
It
now,
is
so for me,
so good.
it was when
I
Will
love
was
it.
conducting us, and it was love's distracting woes.
Yeah.
Love, and he egged that as
Yeah,
much
yeah.
as and it was just sorry. Okay, I'm done with my Patience
no,
feeling
and
now.
Jenny like
It's
right
number
in
one
the
for me.
middle, and
Yeah.
then she got
so
carried
beautiful in her
off.
flowers.
It was
yeah.
just
yeah.
It was just
I
so
don't
epic.
really remember rehearsing that carrying of her. I don't even think I carried her. I can't remember. Maybe I don't think I did it. Anything. But I just don't remember rehearsing her being carried and being like, this is going to be really epic. Like, and it was so
So epic.
I mean, like,
so
but
great.
and
It
also,
is an epic finale.
but, like,
the
give
end
me-
of that finale is great.
but give me Soft Note
oh,
over like the Ruddigore Magical or Hail Poetry.
oh, miles over.
I mean,
Hail Poetry.
give that to me
over Eagle High
all
for
the
me.
time.
Yeah.
And especially, is it Angela's
So
line?
my
It whispers my sorrowing heart.
Yeah. So
So
good.
lost a teary shed. There were just
Yeah,
so
that's
many
Angela, I
like
think, yeah.
so
Yeah.
many glorious crunchy moments
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Soft Note, and then that transitions into
with the same music underlaying.
it
Yeah.
does, it's
Yeah.
lovely.
Into- but
Into
who
Groove
is
and
this?
back, and then that's a tension, dum bum
Yeah.
bum bum bum.
Yeah.
They love
Aesthetic.
it.
But
Yeah.
then, like, one of my favourite bits was I've previously alluded to in my tenor arias video. Your maiden hearts are do not steal.
Yeah.
This teardrop dews is marching on.
A flat and sixth, which is maybe my favourite note in any scale
Yeah.
ever.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
There are so many just utterly
Yeah,
divine things about this, and then that tension is broken. Come walk up, bam, punch
Yeah,
the
they're
music.
so good.
I love the narrative here. The narrative just works so well. It's everything. The only reason it didn't come higher in like narrative, dramatic, emotional stakes is because it's only love. Like it's not death. Like
Yeah.
it's not. It's just the stakes are not as high
Yeah.
as they are in some of the other operas.
Yeah.
When it really is like, oh my god, someone is going to
Yeah.
die. But like this is still really up there,
Yeah.
and you can tell all the characters really feel something. And again, everyone changes.
Yeah.
Everyone comes out of this changed, and it's such a big gear change, and it makes it, as you were saying earlier, it's such a cliffhanger. This one
Yeah,
above anyone
that's so true.
really makes you want to see what happens
Yeah.
next. Like, oh
Yeah.
my god, so now they're all over the grave, and what?
Yeah, but
And also, it
wow.
happens
Yeah.
so close to the end of it as well.
Yeah.
In like the last 2 minutes,
And
Grosvenor
that
comes
you-
on like,
yeah.
wait, what?
One of the
It's so good.
best transitions I think in any of the finales
Mm.
is the way he comes out of Soft Note with the beautiful and like comes out of that and builds the tension ever so slightly builds into the last section. It's like absolute masterpiece,
fabulous.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And I hadn't noticed that one of the cats was on your bed.
Yeah.
She started
Yeah.
moving. I was like, what's that? But yeah, I mean, I actually also want to shout out, having most recently played Sapphire's tasty line under Ella's oh never, so nice. Yeah, it's just really, really lovely. Where did it fall down for me? Not really many places, because
No,
everything's
it's
so
high
good
scoring.
from this point.
Yeah.
In honesty, because like my top one got 95
Yeah.
out of 100,
So
so,
it got-
they're all really high.
Yeah,
things, you
exactly.
know,
I think
you know.
just maybe a couple of the musical sections I'm like, well, it's not the best stuff he ever wrote. Like, it's not hit after hit after hit. You know, it's not spine tingling after spine
Yeah.
tingling, which my
Let
top
the Merry
one is.
Cymbal Sound is not a fantastic.
Oh,
no,
that
it's
is also
beautiful.
such a good introduction
Do you know,
to it. It's
I
such a
started,
good...
I started listening to that
Yeah.
right after listening, because I was listening to them chronologically. So I was listening to Sorcerer, and then Pinafore, and then Pirates, and comparing the starts of those to the start of Patience. Immediately, you just switch on into
yeah.
we're in aesthetic land. It's so beautiful, and
I mean,
the
I said it
orchestration
before
is
when I
so
was- yeah.
interesting as well,
Yeah.
with the in the bass. It's really lovely. And also, so I mentioned in the quartets video about this different sound world that Sullivan creates in Yeomen, which is really sort of Tudory sounding, right?
Yeah.
But also there's so much more to the sound world in Yeomen. And am I right, George? You would know this when I don't. Is it scored for a bigger orchestra?
It is, yes.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So that makes a
following the
difference.
carpet quarrel.
Yeah.
You've got his 2 trombones.
Exactly. So that makes a slight difference as well. He's able to be more epic orchestrally, and that makes a difference too. But I think the music that he wrote on the page is just totally different. However, he does tend sometimes, with varying degrees of success, to create these different sound worlds for different shows. And a really good opera composer will do that. And I think that's why people talk about Sullivan by saying, why don't we talk about him more in terms of how excellently he can compare to other operatic composers? Because I, having done a couple of Donizetti in the last few years, I can tell you, I'm not quite sure how one set in a village with peasants feels different to one set in Henry VIII's court. If I'm honest, it kind of, it's beautiful, beautiful music all the way through. But Sullivan creates these sound worlds that are different for every opera. And part of what I don't enjoy so much about Pinafore music is that he quite successfully just does like sailor music for a long time. It's lovely what he does, but it's by nature more simple. But then Yeomen, we talked about how it feels more Tudory, and Grand Duke at times feels really German, which is so clever and beautiful. But then Patience is just so arty and aesthetic and lyrical and elevated.
Patience is just in every respect such a clear step up from Pirates of Penzance,
isn't it?
How did
It's just
Sullivan and
exciting.
Gilbert go from Sullivan and Gilbert? Who are they?
Never heard of them.
But how did they go from Pirates of Penzance to Patience? It is nuts
and the
everything
start of this
is better.
finale, you
Like-
go, I know where we are. We're in a land where poets are in charge. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the start of the finale, it's a different level of beautiful to the previous finales that he'd written, and it's just great. I think just the music in places doesn't compare to the consistently excellent music in other finales for me. Literally, I think that's it. Like, what did I give it for lyrics? I think I'm not sure why I gave it 16 for lyrics.
I gave it an 18.
Just because it was worse than the one that the next one up that got 17. I think.
Some
I
of
gave
the
it an 18 for
stresses
lyrics.
don't quite make sense. And are you going a ticket for to buy?
Well, but that's
yeah.
partly
Doesn't quite
setting of the
make
lyrics.
sense.
I don't know if we can penalise
Yeah.
the actual lyrics for that. I don't know.
Very true.
Sometimes
Very
word
true.
setting happens quite differently to what Gilbert put on the page, and if you just read it as poetry, it sounds totally different. And then, so I don't really know how to score that.
Yeah, that's very fair.
when the
The sun
stresses
whose
are
rays
weird.
are all ablaze with ever-living glory.
Yes, exactly. That happens a lot in these finales. When I was just reading the libs just to rank the lyrics, I was there going, this reads totally differently. When I deliberately stopped singing it in my head, it reads totally differently as poetry to how then Sullivan set it. But yeah, there's some strange moments like that, aren't there? But I gave it a 9 for enjoyment. I mean, I just blimmin' love it.
It's cracking.
It's so great. It's really beautiful.
Great. This is George's last one before he has to go.
Alas, dear readers, I
Yeah.
must catch my train. The Gondoliers.
That's not surprising to me because it was my 8th place.
Yeah, sure. It was my 5th place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to tell a fan.
Yeah, there you go. It was Rachel's 8th place.
I'm sorry.
With 80 points. And it was Joanna's 5th place with 80 points.
80
You completely
points.
agree.
Wow,
It's
okay.
just
Total of
that I think I'm a bit
160.
harsher, so 80 means more
Oh
to
my
me
God,
than
yeah.
it does to you.
I've got,
Is this the shortest?
Oh, it can't be the shortest.
Because-
Sorcerer, isn't it?
You-
But-
It's one of the shortest narratively. It's a bit
Yeah,
like Sorcerer. There's not
exactly.
much that happens, and that's
Yeah.
for me why it didn't kind of breach that.
Right.
And also, this is the only one that I gave a 10 out of 10 to for transitions. It's the one that I
That's
think
interesting.
works the absolute best as a piece of music.
Okay.
And I give it a 19 for music overall. The only reason I didn't give it a 20 is because I'm actually not a huge fan of the end of it. Like, it's lovely, but like, considering we've just had regular Royal Queen, I'm replying, really, and we just had which I love, and then now Marco Dio, which we already discussed. So
Yeah.
I think that Tessa's solo is actually my favourite bit of this. But then I actually think, where we go to the Island Fair, to me there are no goosebumpy moments in that whole section. I think it's good, but I just don't find that like really epic. Like I'm gonna like die of how good this music is. Like, I
That's
don't
interesting
get
because,
that.
well, I find that more epic, and I don't normally, you know, suck up to people in this way, but I find it more epic because of how Will conducted us last summer in that piece. And like, I'm not going to say you're wrong about it because of this, but you weren't actually singing in this section, I guess.
Correct, yeah.
And it's just like,
I only had once
really
actually.
I feel it gets so epic coming out of the little solo section with Marco and then the quartet echoing him, where away where the roses blow, all the winter while where the roses blow, then away. To me that's really epic. I think the thing is, it's not as much of an uppy song as finishes. As
the thing is,
they used to finish many of the finales.
The trouble is, and this
But
is
it's
my
beautiful, I
issue.
think.
This is my issue with the Gondoliers that I'm going to keep boring everyone with. The trouble is that it's a stunning piece of music, and the music does. I mean, I did give it a 15 out of 20 for dramatic, emotional, comedic stakes, which to me I thought was extraordinarily generous, considering just the fact that the stakes are not high, really. At all, but the thing is, the music makes it so. This is what Will always says: the music makes it so. So I get that, but I don't feel like the characters have earned this.
Yeah,
I just and I don't. I don't know who Ginetta, Tessa, Marco, and Giuseppe are as individuals. I don't know if they're going to be good together. I've not seen them struggle and fail and lose, and then I've not seen them have a conflict. They're just pretty people who are attracted to each other and are going to miss each other. And I do not feel like, compare this to like how we feel about like Jack Point and Elsie.
Yeah,
like
course,
I am not in the slightest bit sad that these people are separated.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make me feel anything. The only thing that makes me feel something is how beautiful the music is.
Yeah, so I only gave it a 14 for dramatic, whatever that category is called. And I agree that actually, for me, so for Will, he's like, I really care about these people as a quartet all the way through. For you, you're like, I never care about them. For me, I start caring about them in the Act 1 finale. And I don't think it is just because of their music. It's because of the way they sing to each other and they interact with each other and they have such fun together in Regular Royal Queen that you don't really see them do before that. They dance a bit at the end of the opening Act 1 scene. But like, you don't really see that from them before, and then the way they speak so tenderly to each other. For me, you assume that in the time when the ducal party have been on stage and they've been off doing something else, they've been building a really beautiful relationship as these two couples, and that's and then they come back on, you know, to get married and whatever. And the finale really is, for me, when you go, oh, they do really love each other, and that's
that is lovely.
So I understand why you're cross then that they haven't earned the beautiful music. But for me, I'm like, I just assume I haven't seen it. And of course, you know, the stage isn't for what you don't see on stage. The stage is for what you do see on stage. So I appreciate that. But
for me,
I think it's really beautiful moment
I
between
have
them.
to go to the loo.
Oh,
Apologies. Oh no!
Like when I think about like what makes a good story or characters, for me, like characters that I like the best are characters where like characters where you get to understand at the start what their needs, wants, desires, dreams
I
are,
absolutely appreciate
and
that.
then you get to see them try and achieve that, and they either achieve it or they don't, but they realise actually what I wanted was something else all along, you know. And we get to understand who they are through how they try and get what they want. But these people get what they want in the first 5 minutes of the show.
And I mean,
so I just don't really care about what happens to them.
So I only gave it a 14.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, fair enough. It's just I think it's the thing is, it's a very clear narrative, and for the little that happens, it moves, I think, at absolutely the right pace through this finale. Yeah. And so I gave it a 16 for that category. I gave it an 18 for lyrics. I looked at the scores as well, just to save myself a bit of time for that I gave to the lyrics of the two quartets in this that we already ranked, and kind of used those as a base to work off.
Yeah.
Which, and they scored pretty highly for me. And then I looked at the rest and I go, I don't really think this dragged this down. So I think it's really nice lyrically for me. And then the transitions I gave an 8 to. Music, I mean, well, we ended up giving this the same score, right? I just ranked it more highly because I was harsher with other operas. But musically, I gave it a 15 because in my system there were a clear 4, actually 5. I think Sorcerer was above it as well. But there were a clear 5 that were above it musically. But it's great. I don't rank as highly as you do. For everyone who feels inclined. However, I pretty much love everything else. Also, Janetta's opening aria is very nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't really think. I don't really,
but not like
that,
my favourite thing they've ever written. But I think all the rest of the finale is really beautiful or really. Like,
weirdly, I had
catchy.
like when I sang the arias with Marisa for my arias video. I had the best time singing that one.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's fun to act. I did like that.
Yeah,
it was good.
Yeah.
George, is there anything you want to say more about Gungas before we do it?
I love Gungas, and I think this is a fantastic finale. And do you know what? Actually, conversely, Rachel,
Yeah.
I think now Marco Dear's the worst point of it.
No, I mean,
you know,
it is slow, and I say that, but I still do
however, there's some brilliant moments in it, from start to finish. One of Us Will Be a Queen is just one of my absolute favourite moments.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, we probably have to say goodbye to George. So
Farewell, dear viewers.
Bye, George. Can I
So,
say something just before
yes.
I say that? In your videos, I always find it really interesting when it suddenly cuts and you suddenly go, so, we have broken our tie and we've decided, and then you watch the out of order and I'm like, how exciting, there was a tie!
because like most of my jump cuts are because I just go,
Yeah.
Like, that's literally the reason.
I know that.
Or what I tend to do is, sometimes I speak so quickly that I literally start saying a word before I finish saying a different word, and it's literally impossible to actually cut before the word, so I have to do another earlier cut to and then it's very rare. It maybe happens like once every 2 videos where I make a cut because I shouldn't have said that.
Sure.
Like that's not a thing I should say in public. But it would never be anything like hugely problematic. It would just be like a little tiny thing. Maybe I could have mentioned a name I shouldn't have mentioned. But often I will just say weird sentences and then just like start again. And that's when I do the jump cuts, and it just makes it a bit of a nicer listening experience. Or if I leave a long pause. Occasionally I leave the pauses in for comedy, because occasionally I'll just go like and just stare at it. So if they're funny, I leave them in. Yeah. Anyway, after having broken our tie, number 4 is going to go to the Grand Duke. So let me tell you about why I love the Grand Duke.
Love it so much.
So I actually initially gave it a 20 for music. That was a score that I changed. The reason I changed it is because I do agree that there is one that, I mean, I also gave Utopia Limited a 20, but maybe I also gave Utopia Limited a 19. I think I'll also change that.
You can
to
leave
19.
it as 20 if you like.
But it's just because I actually do think there is one where the music is better than the others, and I think I was being disingenuous. But certainly this comes an extremely second to my absolute top musical one. And it is a little bit fragmented. I think it suffers from there being so many tunes in it. Yeah. Having said that, the transitions I think are really good in it.
I give it a 9 for transitions.
Yeah.
I think they're brilliant. Yeah.
So it's a bit long. There are lots of tunes, but every single one is divine. Big bombs, small bombs, especially when the whole lot is done. Excellent.
So good.
The whole recit between Rudolph and Ludwig is amazing. And the quartet between the 4 girls, Gretchen, Olga, Elsa, Bertha, is so good. Yeah. I'm actually going to include the clip of us 4 singing it, because you can really hear all 4 parts so clearly in it.
My Lord Grand Duke, farewell, a pleasant journey very, from your convenience in yonder cemetery. The malcontents abuse you, we're much distressed to lose you. You were, when you were living, so legal, so forgiving, so merciful. the ornament. And now that you've departed, you leave us broken-hearted. Yes, truly, 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 truly broken-hearted. Yes, truly, truly, truly broken-hearted. We're truly broken-hearted. Truly, truly broken-hearted. We're truly broken-hearted. We're truly broken-hearted.
So good, isn't it?
Yeah, so great.
It's
I have such fond memories of that.
It is
moment
just
in that
so crunchy, and
Yeah.
I love crunchy things, and it was so that's good. And then we have a very great deal, maybe done in a day. One of the catchiest songs ever, which is also used in the Baker Henty THESPIS.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
one of
really
Mercury's songs because it's just such a good tune.
Mm.
And then this is before Julia's even done anything, and then we get "Oh Pity Me, My Comrade's True,"
Mm.
which is often cut, and I
think
am
it's
in a
lovely.
production of it right now that has cut it. And the thing is, I'm not
Completely?
playing. Yes, it's completely gone.
But what about all the high weird woodwind stuff? It's brilliant.
gone.
All the weird high clarinet.
It's gone. I know.
It's so great.
It is a big shame, and I'm not playing Julia. I think if I was playing Julia, I may have fought to have it reinstated because as actually I had to fight to do it. I think not fight. I sent one email, but like I just said, "Can I please do it?" And he was like, "Yeah." So I mean, I think he had to think about it for a while, but I really wanted to do it because to me it tells you who Julia is in the sense that, I mean, for me, everyone has their own way of playing Julia, but for me, she's not malicious. She's not trying to be mean. She is just so utterly self-centered
Single-minded
and
isn't she?
overly dramatic.
Yeah.
And the thing is, she cares more about being a star and being in a dramatic moment than this person's feelings. So she's pretending to care for them. And it's just such a wonderful piece of theatre. And then the da, 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 oh, listen to me, dear. And that, how creepy and sinister that is, followed by the crushing realisation that no one's going to help Lisa. No one's going to help her.
Yeah.
And to me, like, even though it's only about love and marriage, it's a direct contrast to like, oh no, Tessa and Giuseppe aren't going to see each other for a bit. Like, this is like somebody whose entire life revolves around Ludwig. Like, and you'll get to link in the description for me being in the Grand Duke probably like this week. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Who knows when?
Yeah.
But
it's because I made my Princess Ida Diana before that. That's going to be a political one.
There you go.
But there you go. But it was but her whole life has revolved around Ludwig.
Yeah.
And she's just been utterly crushed and
cast aside.
humiliated
Yeah.
in front of all these people. The die is cast, my hope has perished, farewell, O past, too bright to last, yet fondly cherished.
That's my top musical moment actually of this finale. It's
Oh
so
my god.
beautiful.
But then the very final ending, which my tingly moment
I
is
know.
sing hey the jolly jolly jinx.
Yeah.
Sing hey that kind of key change there.
Yeah.
And then thinking that Ludwig Ludwig is not happy about it, but he has to power through. Julia's like, this is the epitome of my love.
Yeah.
The state, even though it's only about theatre. But
Yeah.
actually, to be fair, that they have just
No, it was
that
life and death.
it was life and death at the
Yeah.
start. The Grand Duke is just a roller coaster, and I love
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what else? Well, one of my favourite sections in any GNS, lyrically and musically, is Big Bombs, Small Bombs.
Oh my god!
I
so
mean,
good.
and the things they say to each other, even in the verse that often gets cut.
Tall snobs, short snobs.
What are you? Who are you alluding to? Where are you intruding to?
You know what? I've never even thought
A
about
facer,
that.
grimacer. Do you know? So I was talking to Leon about my scores before this. I said I gave the lyrics in the Grand Duke 20. It's my only 20 actually.
Nice.
And he
18.
said what? Even grimace. And I went, especially grimace. It's so funny.
When I did that in St
It's so
Andrews,
stupid.
when
But
I
it's utterly Gilbert deliberately being stupid. He didn't make a mistake and go, oh, I guess I have to do the wrong stress. It's not bad. It's like ridiculous peak Gilbert. Like, he's had all this practice for the past however many years that he's been putting these Savoy operas together, and he goes, this is my humour in this finale. In this one number in this finale, this duet between these two baritones. It's just such beautiful
It's so
work
good.
by him.
let
and
me
Sullivan
just
as
tell you
well.
what I did
Sorry.
in St Andrews. For some reason, we thought it would be funny. And I still think it was quite funny. We changed it to, like, not a face. We just went, your face, sir. You're like, in your face. Your face, sir. And that was good. I like that. And 2008, Rachel found that hilarious.
It is
2007,
funny.
Rachel, actually.
Yeah. But
But that
even
was
what
good.
he wrote is funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's... But, yeah, all just, like, brilliant. I gave it an 8.
Julia, now don't be foolish, dear. You couldn't play it, darling. It's a leading business pet, and you're just a bread. It's the whole Julia and Lisa thing. I'm obsessed with. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, Jolly Jinx is such a tune, isn't it? But also the Dyers cast where I can't think of another moment in GNS. Maybe it happens somewhere in Yeomen, because everything in Yeomen is so complicated and clever that I can't boil down the musical moments as easily.
Yeah.
But at the end, when he starts playing with the flattened 6th and 7th, and then it culminates in my heart is broken. It's broken. Those notes are so unusual for Sullivan, and he plays with them a little bit before in the build-up to that phrase as well. And it's just, it's so stunning. I mean, I gave it a 16 for music because there's 3 that I think are better than it musically.
Okay.
Finale-wise, just when you average the stuff out. But I think there's so much stunning stuff in it. Also, I'm naming a lot of Rudolph's stuff, possibly because I very clearly remember Rolly's performances in Our Grand Duke. He was so funny, especially in this finale. But I also just love the weirdness of Rascalia. Why did he write to hang around on the road after that long? It's genius. It's so weird.
I also love it when you've got a baritone who can go up that. Look out for squalls! It doesn't always happen because it's not meant to be a tenor.
Squalls.
But I love it when they go up to the top note on squalls.
Just lovely work.
It's
really good. Where did it fall down for me compared to the others? I mean, hardly any places. That clarity and quality of narrative, I guess. I gave it a 15. I think it is quite clear. I think people who
I gave it an 18, and I think that was
very
too
complicated. Haven't heard it with the right dialogue cut because they just talk about everything too much. As soon as they don't over talk about stuff, it's not the most complicated story in the world.
That's the thing. Like, for me, I gave it an 18 more for quality than kind of simplistic clarity.
Yes.
I just think that it is just a roller coaster of exciting stuff happening. Like, you're never bored in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, so unlike kind of in Babyhood Upon Thy Lap that day, there is never a moment where you feel like there's no tension.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
no flabby moments in it at all. It's all like very focused. And in every single song, there is a really clear focus on what that bit is about and what that is achieving.
I think maybe I just felt that there are a couple of, well, for example, you'd never cut it, but at the end we go, great, we're going to be jolly, and Julia goes, but we need something to wear.
I actually did cut, so let me tell you what I cut from the St Andrews one. 3 things from the Act 1 finale. I cut the superfluous, even though now I don't agree with that, bits of the Oh Pity Me. So just the bits with the recording cuts.
Yeah.
I cut that. And I cut this. I cut the But Stay and the Old Athens Let's Exhume. So I just hope that the audience would be okay with them coming on in Greek costumes in the second half, because they can see the costumes on stage in the whole first act, so they know. The other thing I cut, which I actually cut again when we did it, do you remember which bit it was?
In the Act 1 finale?
Yeah, it was a really random bit, but it buys you like a minute.
No.
Give thanks to wayward fate.
Yes! I was listening to that and I thought, I'm sure we didn't do that.
Yeah, we didn't do that. I cut that.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it bought us a minute, and I think that even though I wouldn't cut it again because I don't really see the point. I kind of want to be a completionist and do it all next time. But this was at a time when I really wanted to keep it snappy, and it fulfills the same narrative purpose as Hurrah, Hurrah, our Ludwig's won. Like it doesn't, nothing happens by having that.
Which, by the way, is another fantastic piece of music. Where they're swapping the male and female voices. Yeah, but the men sing it 2 beats before. It's very clever. It's really nice.
I really love that. Yeah, that is a good one. But I think it just surprised me because to me, I thought that Grand Duke and the 2 we haven't talked about yet were going to be 1, 2, and 3.
Same.
And then I thought IOLANTHE was going to be 5, and then Patience 6.
It's better for my bum. Please cut that out.
Oh, don't worry, we're not rolling yet. So we are just down to 2 of us now, and this is quite exciting because we have a tiebreaker for 4th and 5th place. So sorry, 3rd and 4th place. So what I suggest we do is we see what they are, and we try and figure out just between us now which one we think is in 4th place. Because I know I'm going to have a really strong opinion that one of them should be.
Yeah, okay.
Because to me,
if
one
it's
of
your
them.
4th place, what if your 4th place came 2nd?
That's the thing. Like, what on earth? Okay, let's see what they are. 3 and 4th are the Mikado and the Grand Duke. Okay. Wow. So, I put my Mikado is my 4th place by quite a margin. By I think it was I gave that 87 and I gave the Grand Duke 93. So these are actually my 3rd and 4th place, but I very much had the Mikado quite in my 4th place and Mikado quite further up. Oh, like the little list. Yeah. And the fan. And then the Grand Duke is a sausage roll. And
some cards.
Playing cards. Oh.
So nice.
But I see that Joanna, you have put
the Mikado
2nd place. That's strong though. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Grand Duke only 4th because it was tied with my 3rd place. Ooh. And I chose my 3rd place over it because I enjoy it slightly more. Yeah. And I think it has slightly better music. But, well, they tied. It was really, really close. But obviously, each of us thinks a different one is better than the other. Yeah. Well, can I tell you first about my journey in scoring the Mikado?
Oh, do that, yeah. Well, let's just talk about the Mikado first. We might end up saying that this is number 3. Yeah. But let's just talk about the Mikado first anyway.
So I have really enjoyed being in the Mikado in the past. I've never played what you would call a really big role. I've only played them. No, that's not true. Scrap that. I've played the middle mezzo in the Mikado. I've also played the alto in the Mikado.
Oh,
which
really?
was a fantastic part, but I didn't love the production.
Oh yeah, no, you have the middle mezzo.
Yeah. I've never played the soprano or what I think to be one of the best mezzo roles in GNS, which is the bottom maid, the mezzo. So my experience of being in the Mikado has been mixed. And also I haven't been in it for quite a few years, I think since 2017. So when I was starting to score this, I thought, this isn't going to come even in the top 5.
I didn't think it was either.
I'm not a big Mikado head.
I thought this was going to be like 7th or 8th
I thought
to me.
I wasn't a big Mikado head. And then I started listening to it again and I started reading the words again. It is epic. It is absolutely brilliant. And what I thought was something that I didn't rank really, really highly in the Mikado was music, but my goodness, the Act 1 finale music,
it's incredible.
It's something else.
I mean, I only gave it a 16, but I do really like it.
So I gave it an 18 for music, bearing in mind that 18 was my 2nd highest score for music because I gave one thing 20 and I went, it's so clearly 20.
Oh, really?
I've got to have a gap between it and the others.
Oh, wow,
so this is my 2nd best music out of all the Act 1 finales. It's just great all the way through. It starts pretty nicely and gets better and better and better, and it is just so epic and so beautiful in places. And the 2, what's my high musical moment? I'll just tell you because I've got my exact musical.
There are so many for me. I couldn't decide.
But, Well, actually, interestingly, and again, in my head, I was like, oh, that's pretty basic. And then I listened to it again, and I imagined singing it again. And I went, actually, the high point for me is the threatened cloud has passed away. It's so
that is
beautiful.
lovely.
Do you know what I love the most? It's where in the orchestra, they've got this epic chromatic scale going into the big, with joyous shout. Because... you know, it's then exactly.
Yeah.
It's so fantastic. It's brilliant.
You
It's
know
genius.
what something that I have always loved in a Mikado Act 1 finale. This is like way back when I was in it when I was like 20 and I was playing the soprano, and I found this like really emotional, and it was always like kind of tear inducing, which is where they turn her back on the alto and sing, "We do not heed the dismal sound, for joy reigns everywhere," right? And then again, we do. I'm singing all the keys all over the place.
That's right.
But because the soprano and tenor are exchanging it.
Yeah.
We do not heed the dismal sound, for joy reigns everywhere, right? Then repeat, we do not. It's the fact that they sing it twice. For me, like the fact they sing it twice makes me have feels.
Yeah. So you've spoken, I think, in your tenor videos about these moments where you just stand and you've got the wind in your hair.
Yeah.
And like it's just epic vocal moments. I think there's like 5 of those in the Mikado Act 1 finale. It's so brilliant. I think the other high point actually musically for me is the Hour of Gladness.
Yes, actually.
Oh,
you know what? I thought, you know, I said in my introduction video, oh, well, I'm not going to include the Hour of Gladys as an alto aria because she already has 2 others and one really like her. And I listened to that the other day and I was like, oh, I'm including the Hour of Gladys because it is. I actually think it maybe it's better than Alone.
It's
Yes,
brilliant.
I don't know, but I adore that. And just like, to me, like watching the 1966 version, which I think I probably mentioned every single video so far since I watched it, because I'm just so obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Because is it John Alden or John Alden?
Oh, I can't tell you that. I'm not.
But
really
like,
good at
oh my
watching
god,
it.
his Mikado, is absolutely deranged. My object was. I can't get over how good that is, but just when it struck me that, oh my god, like the soprano, she's so struck by how brave the tenor is, but she also knows he's going to die in a month, but he's like this celebrity, so she's happy to be with him for just a month, and it's just it's like it's really profound.
It's like, oh my goodness, I get to marry him. But also, he's going to die in a month.
It's just that it's
but
off the
she's
scale.
So happy, of course, that she gets to marry him. Of course, maybe she has to marry the Pataman afterwards. But you know, she gets to marry him. It's fantastic. It's more than she could ever have hoped. She was forbidden from even touching him.
Oh, but the idea of him dying in a month, it makes me feel sick. I keep thinking about that.
Yeah, honestly, it's so good, and there's great.
Stakes are so high.
You know, not every single character is in it, but also, do you know what I love? The baritones solo in the middle of all good fortune, all good fortune.
You know what I'm going to do?
So hysterical, absolutely hysterical.
Because I think that I marked the Grand Duke's music too highly.
Oh, interesting.
So if I take 1 mark off its music, that puts the Mikado into 3rd place. There we go.
Oh, okay.
We can do that. So
sure.
I decided, you know what, Joanna put the Mikado above the Grand Duke. After having talked about it, no, but the thing is, I will talk about this. I'll talk about the Grand Duke. I do absolutely adore the Grand Duke, but I do think this is cleaner.
It's very clean, isn't it? You know how people go, the Mikado is their masterpiece, and I go, there's way better stuff than the Mikado. But then you look at the Act 1 finale and you go, do you know what? I see where they're coming from. Like,
and what's weird, actually, as well, is that I gave the Mikado only a 17 for clarity, but I gave the Grand Duke an 18, but it's also quality of narrative, because the thing is, the Grand Duke just has some interesting terms. But
so
anyway,
I gave it a 17 as well for clarity and quality. I gave it 18 dramatic, emotional, comedic.
Me too.
It's really good on all those fronts. 19 for lyrics I gave it, which is the second highest.
I gave it 20 for lyrics.
Yeah, that's the second highest score I gave for lyrics.
The Mikado basically gets 20 in lyrics.
And then 9 for transitions, because I think they're brilliant.
I gave it 8 for that, but yeah.
And then 18, like I say, for music and for enjoyment. where's enjoyment? 10.
Yeah.
I gave 2 things a 10 for enjoyment. This
Yeah.
is one of them.
So
It's just epic, and that's
I adore it.
mostly from listening to it. But then I think back to performing it, I go, this is always the high point of my performing experience in the Mikado, even when I've only
the thing is,
been
like,
in the chorus.
because of all the unpleasantness surrounding the Mikado,
Yeah.
it's been so long since I've done it.
Yeah.
And when I last did it, it was with Savoynet, and I was playing the middle mezzo,
Right.
and it was 2011.
Wow, yeah.
And I was just like an embryo of what I am today in terms of like a director, performer / artist. And I wasn't thinking that deeply, and I actively thought that it's good of the stakes. Oh, there's not really any stakes in Mikado,
Yeah.
it's all just silly and funny. And like, I
Yeah.
could not have been more wrong about that.
Yeah.
And if the stakes are treated as they should be, I actually do think that 3rd place is the correct place for this.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy for this to go in
Okay.
3rd place. And but the thing is, I absolutely adore them both, and I will explain to why I gave the Grand Duke really high scores. But now it does come into it comes into my decisive 3rd place, where I'm happy to actually for Mikado to end up there.
Sure.
But just because it's like one that I think more people will agree with as well.
My goodness, I really don't know which one this is going to be.
Well,
Thank
why
you.
don't you unwrap it?
Okay. Number 2 is Princess Ida Act 2 finale,
Let's see the pictures.
which just
Oh,
all
there's
arrows
arrows.
flying, and anyway, which was Rachel's number 1 with 95 points, and Joanna's number 3. Sorry, Princess Ida.
But look, this is one that
I really love
honestly-
it. I mean, it's brilliant.
But like
85
very much
points I
like-
gave it. 85.
Yeah, the thing is,
Total of
my
180.
number
Strong.
1 and number 2 were 1 mark away from each other, so I don't particularly mind
Sure.
this is in number 2 instead of number 1.
Yeah.
It was a toss up anyway between them, because I feel like they have strengths in different areas. I actually only gave this an 18 out of 20 for music. I don't think the music is quite as sophisticated as the one we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
The transitions are lovely. I gave it an 8. But the thing is, I do appreciate it. It does sometimes come to a halt, but it does so...
Madam.
Yeah, that's not a good one. I think I docked it 2 points for that alone.
Also, typically not really well sung by Melissa, and hard to sing really well as well. So the music stops, and then
Yeah.
just a girl goes, "Madam."
But I
Sorry, apologies to Melissa who have sung that really beautifully.
Yeah.
I just haven't
Sure it's
seen any of
happened.
you. Carry on.
But I do like the fact that even though some of the transitions aren't seamless, it's still quite funny. Like before the brothers come on, we may remark, but that's charming.
Yes,
and I absolutely love the way. Like I gave this. This is the only one I gave a 22 for quality, clarity of narrative, because I find that, unlike the one we haven't talked about yet, it very clearly works as a this happens, which causes this to happen, which causes this to happen, and this gets out of control, and these people come in, and it's just, you can really clearly see how each thing causes the next thing. And again, like every character changes. It's such a huge dramatic turning point. Hilarion suddenly grows a spine and says, "Princess Ida, I love you.
Yeah.
Even though I've only met you today, I am in love with you. Please do not. If you send me away, I will die."
Yeah.
And she's just, oh God, but you're men in disguise, and this is terrifying for her. But the stakes are so high in this.
The stakes are just really high,
and that they are literally being attacked by men. Most of these people haven't seen men.
Yeah.
And now they're about to get attacked by them, like men with real weapons.
Yeah.
And the threat is real here. And I think that often it's played down, so it's not kind of problematic. But I think when I do it, I want to really play that up. I want to I want to show how disgusting this is.
Yeah.
Like it's so,
absolutely
to invade a space like this.
Yeah, because otherwise,
it's
do you
it's
dare
horrible.
to beard a woman in her lair? It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like if we don't really think they're doing something bad, you gotta you gotta take it seriously as a director. Absolutely. Yeah. I think I agree. 8 for transitions, 18 for clarity and quality of narrative, 18 for dramatic emotion. comment, whatever. Gave it a 9 for enjoyment because I really love it. And I gave it a 17 for music, which was my third highest score. The only thing I think that brought it down from second to third for me was lyrics, and I can't remember what specifically now. I guess actually what I just quoted, beard a woman in her lab.
Yeah, I gave it a 19 for lyrics. I did appreciate that it wasn't as good as the MIKADO or IOLANTHE, especially not the MIKADO.
Yeah.
I do think that there are some, like the though but a girl defiance, thus I hurl. I don't think that's particularly
it's a
good.
bit, the poetry is sometimes a little bit shoehorned.
But then just I feel like that was made up for though in so many moments. There's like we may remark that I think can dismay us. That whole section is genius.
Yeah. Really funny.
The whole section is genius, and for Hildebrand's aria.
Oh, peppery kind. Yeah.
Oh my god, it is
so clever. Really. And yeah, I think this is what for me the lyrics in all of Ida, which we probably might think of as one of the more serious operas. As with the opera we haven't yet talked about, the lyrics have an innate wit to them.
Yeah,
an innate wit. That like is very clever because the subject matter seems on the surface more serious. But you read the lyrics to both Ida finales actually, I think, and there's just this. Everything's very cleverly and wittily put together, and the turns of phrase that Gilbert uses to describe just normal things, and I think it's really evident when I was reading just Ida on the page that it's witty. It is. The words are witty.
I do love the lyrics in this. I think it's lovely.
So my high point musically for this, do you want to know it?
Yeah.
Walls and Fences scaling / Renthia with wailing.
Oh yeah, that double chorus. That's
so
a double
good.
chorus. I just realised that's a double chorus.
Yeah.
I could have that to my double chorus.
19 out of 20 for music for me. That bit, just that bit,
Yeah.
and then a close second to that is just the end. You know, to yield at once.
Is
To
it-
such
I mean,
a foe
to
going
me-
into defiance. I mean, epic.
There are some things that I have changed my mind about while making these lists, and there are some things that I haven't. And I still maintain that Hilarian's aria in this Act 2 finale is what is definitely going to be one of my top 5 moments in the canon.
Wow.
So
I
Hilarian's
think it's really lovely.
Hilarian's song to Ida. It's just so brave.
Yeah,
I
sure.
really like it.
Yeah.
And it's just so expressive.
It's very
I gave this
expressive.
a 20 for dramatic, emotional, comedic stakes. It's like everyone is feeling at the very height of something the entire time.
Yeah, that's true.
There aren't, and then the one bit of comic relief you get is funny because they're kind of underreacting to their very serious situation.
That's true.
And so there's never a moment where it's like, oh yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Because even MIKADO kind of has moments where it's like, oh, the tension's dropped.
Yeah.
And Patience has that, IOLANTHE has that. All of these, maybe not the one we haven't talked about. Well, actually, even what we haven't talked about has made arguably a moment that's designed to be frivolous, only to create a nice transition, which we'll talk about. But this truly, the stakes never lower. That the tension remains really high and just continues to get higher, but in a different way. It's like first she's concerned about these men coming in, then she's concerned because he's professing his love to her.
Yeah.
Then suddenly they're being invaded, and then not only are they invaded, but the king is there, like telling her why, like in her face, like in her castle, and then she decides to brave it out.
Yeah.
And she gets her voice back again.
Yeah.
Because she's not said very much throughout the whole finale. And then suddenly it's like, before I call myself his wife! Like, I sang this really well in my Arias video. Like, I surprised myself because I'd never sung it before. And I was like, oh, that B flat just came out.
Yeah.
But that was also another bit where when I did it for the first time, in 2005, that was one of my favourite bits. I was like, this is so good.
Oh, it's so good. And I think yours is an Ida voice, and it came across really nicely, and I think you can sing lots of stuff really nicely, but it really suited Ida when you sang it in that video as well. Yeah.
No, I enjoy that. But so that is Princess Ida Act 2. Yay. So on to number
What's
1.
it gonna
What's
be?
it gonna be? This one's got like a little crown on it.
Nice. Should we put an actual crown?
Yeah. By the way, the reason we have these, just to amp up the tension, the reason we have these crowns is I made these crowns for the Gondoliers, which we are doing at Hever Castle, but we will have done by the time we watch this. But I can't put it on because I've got hair flowers on.
Okay.
But I made these crowns. Don't they look so good? I mean, I did
not
not
at that
in
angle.
a good way. But like, look how expensive that looks. Like these were just like cheap £3 crowns, and I did fur on them. And
you
a red
added
little
the
bit.
fur?
Yeah, I added it. I added
That's
this all.
really nice.
I need to redo the red bit, but I like it. So anyway, number 1. What? It's the Well, actually, sadly, Joanna and I can't actually rate this opera because it's about an opera that we don't know.
That doesn't exist.
Sadly, because like this opera is the Yeoman of the Guard. Now my boyfriend did a really lovely job with these, but
So
he is
beautiful.
not. He is not a GNS head,
Yeah.
but he is getting to be because he loves me so much.
And now he'll know.
But he made the very, very common and completely understandable and okay mistake to make in that he spelt it Yeoman. But that is, honestly, if you spell Yeoman of the Guard, Yeoman of the Guard, newsflash, people still know what you're talking about.
Do you know what?
And it's okay.
It's not the worst mistake anyone's ever made.
And it annoys me when people get like really funny. I mean, it's okay to be gently corrected, but
Exactly.
what's annoying is that, and I'm going to say this, I don't care. What's annoying is that I will see like a comment that's saying a valid point,
Yeah.
and then somebody won't actually respond to the point they made, but will just correct a really minor spelling mistake. It's like, no, it's okay to say, oh, just so you know it's pronounced, oh, P.S., just so you know it's actually pronounced, it's spelled Yeomen of the Guard. But sometimes people will just, they'll use it as like an ad hominem.
To dismiss the entire point.
And it's like, no, it's an easy mistake to make. I was spelling sorcerer, sorcerer until I started making these videos.
There you go.
So we're not perfect. And
Yeah.
some, you know what, I kind of happen to care more about the artistry of what I'm doing than about like spelling and letters and stuff. So, you know, anyway.
Yeah.
So I gave this 94 points. Joanna gave this 96 points. It was my number 2. It's Joanna's number 1. But this one and Princess Ida Act 2 for me were only 1 point apart. So
Yeah, interestingly, look at the difference between their total scores.
wow,
There's a
but this
10-point
got 190
margin.
out of 200.
Yeah.
Woo!
Woo!
So
lofty
obviously
heights.
this one gets a 20 for music,
That's
and even though I have come to see over the course of these videos that the Yeoman actually has more weak musical spots in than I thought.
Weak musical spots.
Yes, the Yeoman just in total, the whole opera.
Purely looking at music.
Yeah.
Without.
Things like
Interesting to me.
When Maiden Loves, like it's fine.
Yeah.
Dacre of the Song, it's okay. Rapture, it's,
Yeah.
There are quite a lot of moments that are like, oh, that's actually like not amazing.
Sure.
Whereas if you think about Gondoliers, it's like all brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't have to. We're not here to talk about Gondoliers, or I would.
Yeah. But anyway,
Come to that point.
But
let's
like
keep talking about Yeomen.
my point is. My point is
Mm.
that this I just think is absolutely perfect musically from start to finish.
Absolutely.
I only gave it a 9 for transitions.
Yeah, I find that
and
interesting.
there was a very specific reason for that, and I think it is the bit before the 3 yeomen come back and say, "My lord, my lord."
It stops.
It does stop.
It doesn't stop, but it dum 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 dum.
Yes,
dum dum dum.
Yeah, and I find that was
Sure.
enough for me to dock a point.
I think
It's
that's
not
fair
as
enough.
neat as the Gondoliers, so
Yeah,
I
sure.
did dock it a point for that. Lyrics, I gave it an 18. I did think there were maybe some slightly questionable lyrics,
Yeah.
but I let me think of one. I love the whole opening with "Lena, don't you know me?" I think it's more the bit before that. The bit before that is, musically it's great, but like, lyrically I don't find it engaging or interesting, that bit with
Yeah,
yeah.
What's he done now?
Yeah, I find that like that is one time when, as much as it's nice to give the 3rd and 4th yeoman something to do, I don't think I'd ever do that
That's
repeat,
it.
because it's just it already goes on quite long.
Yeah,
and I do find myself just thinking, come on, I want Phoebe on stage.
I see why people include it, because each verse only really lists one thing, even though it takes quite a long time. So it's nice to have 4 things rather than just 2 things that Leonard Merrill has done. However, it takes so long to get to hear about them that probably it's still worth cutting. Yeah.
It is just one of those ones that I find, I do find, even though I love a Leonard Merrill, dauntlessly, like I love the Yeomen music, and so that means that it doesn't lose out so much for me. But that only works in like a really like good production of Yeomen. If you're like watching an amateur production, I am bored out of my mind for the first, like, not all amateur productions obviously, but if you're watching like a kind of not so good amateur show, I am bored out of my mind for the first like 3-4 minutes of this. So I do find that does damage it slightly for me. That's the thing. I only gave it an 18 for quality of narrative, because as I say, the stakes aren't really high or clear all the way through, and that first section does just seem to be a bit of waiting.
Right.
But I mean, having said that, then like as soon as Phoebe comes on, it's perfect from there until the end.
Yeah.
And just that, and one of my favourite moments again in the canon, but certainly in this, is bum.
Yeah.
And basically, the intro to Prisoner comes, and then getting to sing it, and the soprano part is actually, because I was in the soprano chorus when I directed it, and it is. I thought, I don't want to be in the Yeomen chorus because you never get anything to do, but I'm telling you, you get so enjoyment from just being in that ensemble. It's like, it's so good. The Prisoner Comes. What do you think of The Prisoner Comes?
I mean, I don't think I have any words for it.
It's so good.
I first fell in love with this moment of Yeomen when I heard the Peterborough Gilbert and Sullivan players perform it. If I ever demonstrate anything to you from Yeomen, other than the odd aria that I've sung, you will notice I don't know a single word of it, and that's because it's the only Savoy opera that I've never been in or conducted or even been in the chorus, other than THESPIS, which
doesn't count.
Doesn't count. So, I've done 2 Utopias. I've done the Grand Dukes. But I keep missing Yeomen. I keep either joining somewhere just after they've done it, and or leaving somewhere just before they do it. When I performed in the chorus of the National Company, they performed it both the year before and the year after the 2 years I was with them. And I keep just missing it. And, someday I'll get to do it and I'll learn the words. And but when I read the words, they're pretty great too. But yeah, what was I going to say? We were going to talk about The Prisoner Comes.
Yeah.
It's so good. When I first heard this, it was Peterborough Gilbert and Sullivan players, and I'd heard it a couple of times. I'd seen Yeomen a couple of times before, and then I was what do you call it? The person who calls people in the dressing rooms.
Stage manager?
No, I was not the stage manager, but I ran to the dressing rooms and called people for their entrances.
Yeah. So you were like a human tannoy.
Yeah, exactly. I was a human tannoy, and I was that, and I remember sitting in the audience watching The Prisoner Comes and watching. Is Jack Point on by that point? And watching him react to it as well. Maybe just getting.
He usually isn't, but I like it when he is.
Right. I mean, just hearing that and I mean, banging amateur chorus Peterborough Gilbert and Sullivan players used to have, and like that, it was just I just went, whoa, GNS can be this. Like, it's a real. Yeah. Gosh, look what Gilbert and Sullivan can do. They do so many other excellent things, but look at this thing they can do. And it's just like, it stops your heart almost.
Block.
Yeah.
Headsman and the truth.
It's stunning. And I think I remember Stephen Godward was conducting it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And did such a beautiful job of musically directing that moment. And I just went, oh gosh, I've got to be in this show. And then I spent like the next 10 years just not managing to be in it ever. But someday.
The 3 men come on, and then he is not there, he is not there. And then Jack Point coming in with, oh, where was you? Oh, other thing. Oh, where was me? Oh, other thing. Oh, where was me? Oh, other thing.
Yeah.
And again, the repetition of words.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
Oh, frenzy, with despair they run.
Yeah. So
Who is a figure?
Yeah, and then when they're in such beautiful harmony for so much of it, and then again, don't know the words.
Alive, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that raised fourth on the last alive, and so Prisoner Comes, it's maybe the only thing out of everything that I've given 20 out of 20 to music to, like individually.
Yeah.
And 19 for My Lord onwards.
My lord.
And you know,
Yeah.
and including the patter section after that, and then Frenzied I gave an 18 to, but this is because I was trying to be really harsh and separate these top things.
Yeah.
And I think the opening section actually musically 17 for me. All the Phoebe stuff with the beautiful orchestra, the
whole rest of
Yeah.
I beg your pardon. Don't you know me?
Do you love when you hear names that you know that Gilbert used because they rhyme with something?
Yes.
Who the deuce may she be? And there's other ones that I noticed doing these Act 1 finales, and I can't remember what they were now. And I was just like, it's such a lovely thing to notice, isn't it?
But the whole thing in the deuce may she be, it can't be Phoebe, surely. Yes,
So
it's
funny.
Phoebe,
But then
your
also
sister.
that orchestral bit.
Yeah,
Singing
it's
it all
so,
out of tune.
it's so good.
Lovely. But yeah, just great. So like other things, for me, this is the only thing that gets 10 for transitions.
Oh,
and here's
okay,
why.
yeah.
Because other things transition really nicely and smoothly, and for that I gave them 9s in general. But for me, these transitions are beautiful in and of themselves on a level that none of the other transitions achieve. And I think even there's something to be argued for the end of The Prisoner Comes going into My Lord, where it's just, you know...
emotionally, it's actually pretty sensible.
It just continues the emotion until, you know, it just allows you to, I guess, revel in the moment you just experienced.
You weren't there for that, were you?
No, I wasn't.
But, and we did the Gondoliers, and Leon, who plays Francesco, he was eating a bowl of pasta at the house afterwards and just said, "There's no harm in revelling in the pasta."
I'm married to one actually, so I do that quite a lot.
Oh no, that pasta.
I know. I get
Oh,
it.
you were making another joke.
Yeah.
Like
Jokes on jokes. Lyrics I gave 17 to. Clarity and quality of narrative, actually, I gave a 19 to.
With brotherly readiness for my first. That's a wind machine.
That's the wind machine moment you've talked about before, and absolutely agree.
Once I answer yes.
Yeah. And
epic.
Again, couldn't have told you a single one of those words because I've never.
And
never been in it.
and that came fourth in my trios. And the thing is, I actually diddled with the marks to get them lower, and I didn't include the what little Phoebe bit because I was like, if I include that, it's going to get 20s for everything, so I have to actually bring it slightly down. And so I tinkered just to include it from Wilfred's kind of opening recit, and I also. I was just aware that it's not really a piece in and of itself, so it shouldn't really come top.
Can I argue for the opening section?
Okay,
I think for me it's really significant because we have this whole build-up, and I think Yeomen is one of the clearest and wittiest and cleverest overall stories. I think it's ever so clever how there's two separate plots going on to either save Fairfax's life or get his cousin not to get his inheritance. Yeah. And they're happening, you know, separately. And they suddenly sort of come together at some point. But what everything is building up to is Fairfax's successful entrance into the Yeomen and his acceptance into the Yeomen as Leonard Merrill. There we go. The plot's come off. Everything's working out perfectly. It's great.
No, it's a fun coming together of all the little stray bits.
We also go, Elsie's still married to him. But we don't really realise that emotionally until the end of the finale, the other clever thing about Yeomen is constantly some people know things and other people don't.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
fun.
other
Yeah.
people know something that those people don't. And the audience knows stuff that the characters don't most of the time. And that's why I've docked it a few points for, I think, dramatic and comedic, and
Right.
because I think it's both clever and also somewhat takes away from how the audience feels about things, because the
okay.
audience nearly always knows things that a lot of the characters don't.
Which
And
makes
so
them
the
feel
audience,
clever.
so the audience is not totally taken away, swept away with the sweep of the
Yeah.
narrative,
yeah.
because they're going, oh, but I know this about that. Oh, well, Elsie's upset about this, but I know this really, and you know, Fairfax is upset about this, but you know,
I think sorry,
I think it's very clever, but like that, maybe it means that it's slightly less than an experience. But I mean, at the same time, it's all just so beautifully tied together with this otherworldly music when you compare it to anything else, and that for me makes this finale a perfect whole, and perfectly paced because of how the music fixes any narrative pacing flaws.
Yeah. As I say, that initial opening, like it really was a very minor thing.
Yeah.
I think what.
But yeah, I think it's significant for that reason. The
But
opening.
I do find, and this is something that I need to kind of really think about how I'm going to phrase, because like when I make a video about it, I don't really think that the story of Yeomen is very like good, because I think that the story is really that it's all leading up to what happens to Jack Point, right?
Right.
So it's like the whole plot and every character and what they do has just been shoehorned into that direction. But the trouble is, as you say, there are so many different plots that come together, and that is great. But if you're explaining the plot of this to someone, it's actually very hard to like keep focused.
I once did that
because you're like, oh yeah, and also, and I forgot to mention that this happened, and then also she likes him.
Grandma.
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
And she was like, okay, keep going.
and as I say, because it's so complicated, the plot is so complicated that they've literally had to like I use the word shoehorn a lot, but it does make sense in this context. But literally, characters have had to be shoehorned into scenes and situations just to get plot across. It doesn't even concern them. And like Meryl and Dame Carruthers have to like suddenly have a romance that wasn't there before, when like usually that should have been discussed in Act 1 and there should have been a thing about it, but there was nothing.
But it is.
No.
He's like, oh, she's always hanging around me.
Not
Isn't
in Act
he?
1.
Is he not in Act 1?
No, that is only said
Doesn't
in
she
the
talk
scene
about
directly
Act
before.
1?
No. Literally,
Okay.
it's just in the scene before Strange Adventure. That is when it comes up for the very first time. And it's so obviously shoehorned in that I find it that the narrative, that even though it's a good story with engaging characters, when we're talking about like construction of a good narrative, I actually don't really rate it. But the Act 1 finale itself is narratively wonderful.
Yeah.
That's got a really good arc, and I'm very glad this.
I think another one with innately witty words.
Oh, amazing! I mean, honestly, the whole introduction to Phoebe, is just like the little Phoebe
And I've said
bits.
this before, and I'll say it again. People who say that Yeomen is the only one that isn't a comic opera are
Oh
totally
my god,
wrong.
it's so funny.
The scenes for me are some of the funniest scenes in all of GNS.
Yes.
And the Act 1 finale, the lyrics are just witty.
And the tenor's funny. It's like the tenor's actually
really
hilarious
funny.
in
Yeah,
Yeomen
yeah.
when
He's very funny.
the tenor's
I don't
often like the
him,
straight
but
one.
He's very funny.
Yeah.
And like Jack Point, as demonstrated in your Patter characters video, is also very funny, and also then at once completely heartbreaking, and we see that in this finale as well. And I just think it's a really perfect climax to a beautiful first act of a beautiful opera.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are several moments in the Yeomen Act 1 finale that are going to qualify for like my best GNS moments. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so much good
Yeah.
stuff in there,
So good.
and it's very well deserved. For some reason, I think the reason I felt Ida should go ahead of it was just because I connect more with the subject matter, I
Yeah.
guess.
I think
and
lots
that's
of
going to be
people
quite
are gonna
important
agree
to
with you
me.
for lots of other reasons as
But
well.
but like the Yeomen of the Guard, I do think there's something really, really very special about
Yeah.
it, and it's very sophisticated in pretty much every area.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad that came number one.
Good. Me too.
That's all of them. We did it all. And aren't these cards lovely?
Yeah,
I think
so
I'm going
nice.
to take pictures of them all so you can see what they all look like as well, because I think they're really cute. So today it's not the 20. It might be the 4th of June. Today is either the 4th of June or the 10th of June. And if it's the 4th of June, I'm going to be Lisa in the Grand Duke in a matter of days.
Probably the 11th if it's a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's the 10th of June...
11th.
No,
That's
10th is a Saturday.
Okay, then it can't be the 4th of June then.
3rd of June, that's what I meant. 3rd of June or the 10th of June. So,
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's good. It's good for clarity of narrative. So it'll either be the 3rd of June or the 10th of June. And if it's the 10th of June, I'm in one more show in the evening, but then it might be evening now. I don't know. Thank you for watching this video and for your continued support. So please keep on supporting us. Please subscribe to this channel if you're not subscribed already. I don't know why you wouldn't subscribe.
I subscribe.
Let's
I'm
do
a
it.
big fan of this channel.
Exactly. Wow.
Watch
that's
them every
nice, you
weekend.
see. And like the videos.
How do you think I can talk so specifically about
That's
your
true.
past videos?
That is true. And so Joanna tunes in every weekend. So if you tune in with her, that'll be what she's
nice,
doing, and
isn't
you
it?
can think to yourself, "Oh, Joanna will be watching this video
I
right
don't know
now,"
that you'd want to,
and that'll be
but,
really, really
yeah.
nice for you because Joanna's cool. And as ever, any donations are really, really welcome. It's expensive work putting on theatre, and I want to pay people fairly,
Yeah.
and it's tough to pay people fairly when you have no money.
Yeah, we like to be paid.
Yeah,
But
So-
not out of Rachel's savings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, and we will see you for the next one.
Bye.
Bye.